Folks, let me ask you one thing first. Suppose one day around noon, you're walking down the street, and the next second, every person in the whole world, you included, vanishes into thin air. You wake up dumped in a thatched hut, and outside the window is a fog stretching past the edge of sight, monsters in the fog, and on the table just 3 pieces of bread and 2 bottles of water. How many days could you last? Let me tell you the answer those people in the channels gave first. Day 1. Somebody was already so starved they were gnawing on coal, and somebody had eaten their own villager. And me, Su-chun, the first thing I did when I opened my eyes wasn't grab the bread. It was stare at a string of golden words in front of me and blank out for 3 seconds. Because that string of words, out of the tens of millions of people in the whole world, only I could see it. Bread times 1 water times 1 oatmeal porridge. It's called a crafting formula. In other people's eyes it doesn't exist. In mine, it's a way out. This death game that scooped up every last person on Earth. From the moment I read that line clearly, for me, it had no suspense left. When I opened my eyes, I was in a thatched hut. Dead silence all around. The occasional monstrous cry rolling past the window, like the end of the world breathing in my face. Wait, there was breathing too. My gaze sank. At my side stood 2 expressionless men, scrawny, under 100 caddies each, weaponless. Above their heads floated 2 words, villager. Just at noon today, I'd still been walking down the street, watching people wink out of existence one by one, and I hadn't dodged it either. I woke, and here I was. Whatever the situation, the more you panic, the more you slip up. I gave myself just 3 seconds to sweep the room. 10 square meters, a glass window on the south wall. Outside it a fog that wouldn't clear, huge black shadows flitting through it now and then. A bare-board bed under the window. 3 piles of materials on the north side. Timber, stone, coal. 3 things on the table. A roll of parchment scroll, 3 pieces of bread, 2 bottles of water. Hungry. Hungry enough to be dizzy. Anyone else would have grabbed the bread and chewed long ago. But I didn't move because of that scroll. I looked at the 2 scrawny men. Villagers? It didn't look like a kidnapping. They wore next to nothing, couldn't hide a weapon, and if it came to fighting over food, I wouldn't lose. For now, these 2 were the smallest threat to me. Yes, my lord, we are your subjects. Humble in the extreme. Wary, I spread open the scroll. The little golden words flew out with a hum and hung in midair. Welcome to the All-People Lord Survival Competition. The thatched hut is your only refuge, but the food inside is limited. Don't give up exploring. This is a paradise for the wise. Fools only hasten their own doomed. Villager loyalty to you is 100%. Command them with confidence. Monsters can only move within the fog. After nightfall, the monsters in the fog multiply, but killing them brings rich rewards. As the word scattered, the first page of the scroll surfaced 5 options. World channel, regional channel, item pack, item crafting, talent recruitment. I opened the world channel first. Where is this? Somebody save me. My bread and water are gone. I'll trade a villager for food. Just now I was so starved I gnawed some coal. My stomach's about to explode. Am I going to die? Upstairs is too dumb. Isn't a villager better? I've already eaten one of mine, keeping the other in reserve. Hick. Well now, day 1, and the feast was already laid. In the top right corner, a little horn sat beside the number 1. 1 world horn a day for distress calls, alliances, trades, broadcasting a message. Use it once, and it's gone. No way was I wasting it on junk, and I certainly didn't need rescuing. I only trust saving myself. Backing out, I glanced at the regional channel too. Same chorus of wailing and bawling, and the same trash egging people on to eat their villagers. Dull. I shifted my eyes back to the food on the table. The instant I laid eyes on it, rows of golden words surfaced before me. Bread times 1 water times 1 oatmeal porridge. Instantly restores vitality. Bread times 2 water times 1 bread and cheese. Portable, non-perishable, feeds 1 person 3 days. A crafting bench appeared in the room out of nowhere. My heart suddenly raced. I looked back at those 3 piles of materials. Timber times 2 stone times 1 stone axe. Timber times 2 coal times 1 stone times 1 kerosene lamp. Disperses fog for 5 minutes. Timber times 2 coal times 1 torch. Disperses fog for 3 minutes. Stone times 1 coal times 1 flint. Ignites anything. Holding down my excitement, I opened the regional channel again to test it. What does crafting list mean? Why can't I craft anything? Somebody teach me how to craft? I'm begging you. There it was. These formulas, from the basic to the advanced, only I could see. Folks, do you grasp what this means? Anyone who's played games knows. One step ahead, every step ahead. While everyone else was huddled in their huts, trembling at the roars outside the window, waiting to die, in my hand was the only walkthrough in this world. Read the situation early, disperse the fog, stake out land. That was the way to live. Not howling help in the channels. Right now, everyone had only two roads. 1. Huddle in the hut and wait for death. Just get through day 1. 2. Send a villager out to scout, which 9 times in 10 meant throwing away a villager for nothing. No one dared take the first step on either road. Everyone waited for someone else to be the guinea pig. But me, I prefer to keep the initiative in my own hands. And I'd fixed on 2 lines in the scroll. Monsters can only move within the fog. Torches and kerosene lamps disperse fog. Put the 2 together. As long as I held a lamp in my hand, I had nothing to fear from the monsters in the fog, because they couldn't leave it. And the lamps, I could make from these bits of material in the room. I ran the numbers fast in my head. Kerosene lamps were the better deal than torches, just 1 extra stone, but 2 more minutes of fog clearing. Materials were limited, though. Making nothing but lamps wouldn't last long either, and I still had to set aside stone for an axe, needed for gathering. I couldn't very well claw at the ground barehanded, and flint, lamps and torches don't light themselves. Open the crafting bench. A 1 square meter bench materialized out of nowhere. Stone axe, kerosene lamp, torch, flint. The system chimed ding-dong without pause, the materials visibly dropping away. By the time I stopped, the 3 piles were down to a single lump of coal. I handed the stone axes to the 2 villagers. These 2 were my tool men for going out to gather. But my brow furrowed again. The materials were nearly squeezed dry. If this trip out came back empty-handed, then I'd have no capital left to make lamps or torches, and how would I explore after that? This trip was a life-or-death gamble. Knowing it was a gamble, I still had to bet. Huddling in the hut was waiting to die. Going out to fight gave me at least a sliver of a way to live. Before setting off, I used the crafting bench to make a bowl of oatmeal porridge and a piece of bread and cheese. The steam rose and my appetite roared up. Sipping the porridge, I scrolled the regional channel. Still the same crowd egging people on to eat villagers. Stomach turning. I backed out. Oatmeal porridge it is. 1 bowl down, and the hunger vanished with a whoosh, strength flooding through me, more than I could use. That was the difference. Bread and water were dead things, no special effect. Oatmeal porridge run through the crafting bench was instant healing. Grr. The 2 villagers' stomachs growled beside me. I broke open the cheese and gave each a small piece. Thank you, my lord. The 2 ate in big mouthfuls, faces full of bliss. Don't get me wrong, I'm no bleeding heart. The rules spelled it out. Once a villager starves to death, my gathering speed drops 3-fold. Feeding them was because they were valuable. In a place like this, having a helper with 100% loyalty was more precious than anything. And chew on this. Other lords were already so starved they were gnawing their own villagers, while here I could spare cheese to feed mine. What's that called? Let's call it dimensional level wealth. Without crafting, 3 pieces of bread and 2 bottles of water wasn't nearly enough. With it, I ate my fill and had half a piece left over. Fed, I stood at the window staring at the fog. A meter out it was a solid white blur, nothing visible, finding supplies left purely to luck. But I refused to stake my life on luck. I paced the room laying out a route, cover the most ground in the least time. I measured my stride, 60 centimeters a step, sprint 10 seconds, and I could cover 20 steps, about 12 meters. 6 kerosene lamps would clear fog for half an hour, 6 torches for 18 minutes, plus 1 spare lamp and 1 spare torch I deliberately set aside, afraid that if I carried them on me, I couldn't resist burning them all. These were lifesavers, and I never burned through them all at once. I always leave myself a way out. Worked out, I had at most 48 minutes out there, subtract the round trip and the digging, and my real time for finding things was a little over 10 minutes. The plan was locked. 1 lamp, the 2 villagers tight behind me. Find a resource, leave 1 to dig on the spot, the other keeps scouting with me. Mark the way with coal lumps to avoid getting separated. Getting separated in a place like this meant death. I drew a deep breath, calm enough to hear my own heartbeat, and pulled the door open. Outside the door, the fog blanketed everything. I didn't rush to light the lamp. I stood in the doorway a full 5 minutes, turning over a deadly question. The scroll only said there were monsters in the fog, but it never said the fog held only monsters. A known danger isn't a danger. The unknown is what truly kills you. The lamp could disperse fog and ward off monsters, but could it ward off other unknowable things? So this trip, I wouldn't go far. Stake out land first, scout the area around the hut clear, confirm that apart from the fog, this ring by the door was absolutely safe. If I couldn't even hold this, I'd be trapped and starved here sooner or later. And I left myself one last escape route. The World Channel had a trade window. If I really came back with nothing, I'd take that half a piece of cheese on me and trade it for timber, stone, coal. That was my trump card. Before sundown, I had to be back in the hut, no matter how much I'd searched. Truth be told, the real difficulty of this game isn't the monsters, it's awareness. At the start, everyone fails to grasp how precious resources are, still less that torches and kerosene lamps, far more than food, are the lifeblood of exploration. It was this composure of mind that saved my life. Anyone else, the first thing they'd do upon transmigrating was chew through the bread and water. They had no idea what survival even meant. I gripped a lump of coal in my palm and lit the kerosene lamp. Keep up. My pace was very fast, plunging headlong into the fog without a backward glance. The two villagers close behind, eyes firm, gripping their stone axes, not making a sound. Where the firelight reached, the dense fog drew back. The monstrous cries were right at my ear, the cold wind like a roaring beast. Creak. Behind us, the hut's door swung shut on its own after we left, the sound very faint, yet it set my heart trembling. Only when I'd truly set foot on this road did I learn what oppression meant. Jagged gravel underfoot, no green grass, no scent of flowers, like a Gobi waste, barren and dead. Not a single living thing, not even an insect to be found. Folks, this is the most unnerving part. Even if a wild boar had charged out of the fog right then, I'd have felt better. But there was nothing. Nothing at all. The range a kerosene lamp could clear was only a circle with itself at the center and a 5-meter radius. Past that circle, still fog. I was completely wrapped in it now. No hut, no sole refuge. What I'd face if the lamp went out, I didn't know and didn't want to know. The coal in my hand dragged a clear line on the ground. My pace was fast, racing death for time, every passing second a pang in my chest. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 78 steps. About 2 minutes in, I crouched, a huge footprint a foot deep in the ground, beside it a shallow, lying down imprint. Something had slept here, and because of the fog clearing, it had just left. Couldn't burn any more time. 1 lamp burned this far, and all I'd seen was barren waste. I raised the lamp and shifted 5 steps left, widening by 3 meters. Barren. 5 steps right. I stopped. 5 meters out, a mound of earth half a meter high, set apart from this whole stretch of dead barrenness, stood alone. And before my eyes, that line of golden formula only I could see lit up once more. Folks, the first pot of gold had arrived. I closed my eyes and respread that mental map with the hut as its origin. Direction, stride, step count, not a step off. Eyes open, I fixed on that line snaking off into the fog, 70% confidence. I bent for a close look. There were very faint footprints along the line, made by villager 1 on his way back. No mistake. Go. I never doubt my own judgment. 5 minutes later, the hut was right before me, the torch burning out at exactly the right moment. I let out a long breath. Being played like that was the first time and the last. But this trip taught me one thing for certain. I started a PhD at 17, entered the National Academy of Sciences at 21, with memory and caution far beyond the ordinary. And even I had to lean on the crafting formulas to survive, and nearly got killed by that thing in the fog. So what about ordinary people? The answer was chillingly cold. They could only wait to die. The further this went, the more the only ones left alive would be the elite of the elite, without a single exception. Just as the scrolls said, this is a paradise for the wise. Fools only hasten their own doom. Pity others? I hadn't the spare strength. For now, looking after myself was enough. Pushing the door open, this trip out had taken a full 40 minutes, a real, visceral taste of racing death by the second. I lay down on the bare-board bed. This hut was the only haven from the storm. Only here could I not hear my own heartbeat. Sort the materials and stack them neat. I'll rest a bit. Even lying down, I wasn't idle, opening the World Channel to pick through information. One villager for one bottle of water. I sent my villager out with a torch to scout. 10 minutes, and he's not back. Don't know if he still can be. A torch burns just 3 minutes. The man went out 10 minutes ago and isn't back. Long gone, not even a leg dragged home. And this fellow was still waiting. Some people were starting to craft successfully. Inevitable. I just felt my way faster. They were still huddled in their huts, not daring to move. While I'd already found a clean water source and scouted 5% of the region. That was the gap. I took stock of the spoils. What I still lacked most was stone and coal. Stone was hard to gather and time-consuming, and I couldn't be bothered burning hours on it. Coal, unless I stumbled on a mining zone, couldn't be gathered in quantity. For those two, trading beat digging. The rest was a decent haul. 200 clay blocks, enough for 60-some wooden fences, though fences cleared fog over a small range, and 60 would only stake out a little patch. A batch each of cypress berries, timber, wind willow grass, antidote herb, poplar twigs, plus low shrub leaves. Those could make paper. With paper, I could draw the map in my head down on it, and never walk the same road twice. Offhand, I figured out the region's area. 5% explored worked out to walking about 500 meters. Extrapolating, the whole region was roughly 100,000 square meters. Sounds big, but it's just one forbidden city, 14 soccer fields. To explore it all, minus gathering, was at least 90 hours, 2 weeks, burning 70-some kerosene lamps a day. My head spun. All those resources, where was I supposed to get them? I turned my eyes to what the wooden chest had yielded: rope, iron ingots, a raw egg, and that golden white beast egg. The formulas surfaced at once. Timber rope, iron ingot, fishing rod, timber, iron ingot, iron axe, raw egg, water, steamed egg, custard, white beast, egg water, times 2, white beast tonic soup. What have you done? This is a white beast egg. Why aren't you hatching it? The iron axe was a must. The villagers' 2 stone axes were all spent. The fishing rod too. There was a stream in the woods, and with a rod, fish every meal, food worries gone for good. As for the white beast egg lays 100 beasts, hatchable in a warm room, storable in the pack. Hatch it successfully and gain 1 loyal white beast. Could be a little cutie, could be a colossus, a loyal beast of any kind. I was tempted, but didn't dare hatch it. Right now I could barely afford to feed myself and 2 villagers. Add another mouth? And if it hatched into something huge, what would I feed it? Once I was truly rich, we'd talk. Of course, the day I was truly down to nothing, it might go into my belly too. The sky went fully dark, and I opened the regional channel. It had blown up. Region online, 877. Originally 1,000. Meaning that before the competition's first day was even out, 123 were dead. From here it would only climb. Hunger, sickness, exploration, each one taking lives. A clever one popped up in the channel, Mengyu. With a torch you don't fear the fog. Monsters are only in the fog. I circled the doorway with a torch, no danger. But a torch only burns 3 minutes, remember that. Below it a chorus of big shot, awesome, and can I bear your children? I didn't pick it up, and certainly didn't post a trade in the regional channel. I was going to play my cards close. Simple reasoning. This was the regional channel. These people weren't far from me, and might even share the same region as me. My patch was a mere 100,000 square meters, 14 soccer fields. How many people could it hold? 1 or 2? 10? Or none? I didn't know. And what I'm not sure of, I never bet on. I tested Mengyu. What did you find at the doorway? Gravel, nothing at all. Just felt like there were a pair of eyes in the fog staring at me. Scared me right back inside. Embarrassing to admit. Gravel. My eyes sank. The exact same goby as my doorway. That meant Mengyu and his people were extremely close to me. And in the end, all of them were competitors. Folks, let me put it plainly. This is an all-people lord competition, not an all-people philanthropist contest. The territory belongs to one person only. Once resources run short, plunder is the only way to live. Every war in history was fought this way. I couldn't promise I wouldn't go raiding, so on what grounds could I promise others wouldn't come raiding me? So until I was sure someone wouldn't turn enemy, I treated him as a hypothetical enemy across the board. Don't call me selfish. In the apocalypse, the bleeding hearts die fastest. What I had to do was watch and wait, mining the chat for clues, working out who shared my region. As for trading, I'd do it on the World Channel, where it was all over the map and nowhere near me. And that one horn a day had to be used before the day was out, or it'd go to waste. Opening the World Channel, it was even livelier than the regional one. For one, the sky was darkening, and danger in the fog doubled at night. So people had pulled back into their huts. For 7 hours after transmigrating, that bit of bread and water was long gone. Those who'd eaten and those who hadn't were all going mad with hunger now. 10 stone for 1 liter of water, any kind soul. Stone's the most useless resource. What's it good for? So hungry. Barring surprises, I'll die of thirst by tomorrow. All garbage messages, not a useful one among them. But I didn't dare get smug. There's no shortage of clever people in this world. The truly clever ones would never cry poor and beg in the channels. They were filtering information, running analyses, then going out to put them into practice. People of my same mind, still watching and waiting, loath to use their horn. There were surely no small number of them. Then don't blame me for blowing this channel up first. I opened the trade panel. Everything posted on it was coal for water, stone axe for bread. All of it untouched. Life over everything. No one willing to trade food for resources. But I didn't lack food. I had half a chest of water, 20 liters, enough for 10 days. And if I really ran out, I could go fish at the stream. What I lacked was the material for kerosene lamps and torches, coal above all. So I split 1 liter of water into 5 portions, 200 milliliters each, and posted them on the trade bench. Sellers Suchin 200 milliliters clean water want. Coal times 10, 5 listings in a row. No bottles. How you drink it once it's yours is your problem. The moment the listings went up, the World Channel blew up on the spot. Water. Someone posted clean water. 200 milliliters for 10 coal. How is there someone selling even water? Got a death wish. Which region is the great Suchin from? Big brother. Give me some water, won't you? I'll agree to anything for you. Get lost. My private inbox was flooded in an instant. Folks know why it blew up like that? At the start, it was just 2 bottles of water for 100 milliliters at most. And I'd posted a full liter at once. A clever person worked it out with a snap of the fingers. This Sioux fellow hadn't just gone out to scout. He'd come back alive. He'd found a water source. This move I'd revealed on purpose. What I wanted wasn't the bit of coal from the water. It was to flush out all those clever people lurking in the dark like me, loath to make a move. But a tall tree catches the wind. Once I'd planted this big shot, name, the eyes fixing on me, were probably no longer just the one pair in the fog. Tens of thousands of private messages poured into my inbox. I had no time to be moved. I just picked out what was most useful to me. The first, someone wanted to trade 200 units of coal for 2 liters of water. By my price, 200 coal was worth 4 liters, and he'd cut it in half himself. What surprised me wasn't the price, it was, he hadn't found a mining zone. So where'd he get 200 coal? Could he have stumbled onto a mine? That was the real point. I closed the deal, 2 liters of water for 200 coal, enough for all my needs right now. The second was more interesting. 1 caddy of boar meat for 1 liter of water. I didn't lack food, but this leaked a key piece of intel. There were wild boars in the fog. But I immediately threw out the notion that the monster is just a boar. A boar's nothing to fear. 3 men with axes can bring one down. The truly deadly thing was the one that could tamper with my markers, stare at me from the fog, make my scalp crawl. A boar can't give a person that prickle of being watched. Picking through messages for a few hours, I sorted out a few things. Everyone had been transmigrated in, each starting with 2 villagers, no elderly, no children. Over 100 people had gone out and come back alive, yet not one had found a water source. The monsters came in all shapes, and some had even heard a woman crying in the fog. A monster or an illusion? I traded another 2 liters of water for 200 stone to make spare lamps. Then I took out the paper I'd crafted, used a sharpened lump of coal for a pen, and drew the first map from memory. The hut at the center, scale marked, and tucked it into my pocket. That coal line on the ground, I didn't dare trust blindly anymore. If it could be tampered with once, it could be tampered with twice. At a time like this, the only one I could trust was myself. Night fell, and the hut was more unnerving than by day, lit only by the scroll's faint glow. Light a kerosene lamp for illumination? You're joking. That's life itself, not to be burned like that. I made all 5 eggs into steamed custard, delicious. The carp I kept alive for now, for when food ran out. With the rest of the materials, I crafted 1 fishing rod and 2 iron axes, and turned everything else into kerosene lamps. 200 of them, enough for 16 hours out there. Kerosene lamp freedom achieved. The first dark night, the 2 villagers and I kept watch in shifts. The hut might be absolutely safe, but I trust no absolute. A night without incident. At daybreak, the 2 villagers, fed and well-rested, were in high spirits, and, if my eyes didn't deceive me, they were a touch sturdier than when I'd first transmigrated in. That rate was abnormal. Never mind. Since they called me Lord, I wouldn't shortchange them. Set off. This time Villager 2 would draw the line. But truth be told, drawing a line on the ground was too conservative and had been tampered with once. Luckily, I had paper now, and that map in my head was my real insurance. What I relied on was my near-identical 60-centimeter stride, every step. 5 minutes later, my pace slowed. There was a faint smell of blood in the air. A patch of disordered gravel on the ground. The clear trace of someone having passed. Only 5 minutes out, 612 steps. Just 367 meters from the hut. This close, and someone had come scouting. Following the dried droplets of blood 30 meters, I saw a corpse. A woman's body. A ghastly expression, eyes wide open, her innards hollowed out, too gruesome to look at. In her hand, she still gripped a long-since-extinguished torch. Dead no more than 12 hours. But crouching for a close look, there were no signs of struggle on her, only the most extreme terror in her eyes. A beast attack must leave resistance. All the more so when a woman who dared carry a torch into the fog surely brought villagers. Yet there were no villagers at the scene, and no villager bodies either. She'd been frightened to death, died of terror. Stringing the clues together, I worked it out. She'd had her torch burn out and failed to make it back to the hut, and was swallowed by the fog. The beast came later to share in the meal, which meant the thing in the fog wasn't a beast. And her hut had to lie in the very direction she'd died staring at so fixedly. That was her last obsession. I looked at those despairing eyes. I'm no bleeding heart, but this once, my heart ached a little. If I died in the fog, my end would be no different. Body shared out. Not even a soul to find it. Dig a pit, bury her. The words whole body, I couldn't say. With the innards all gone, what whole body was there? Buried. I followed the line of her gaze. 3 minutes, and a hut appeared. Pushing the door open. Safe house discovered. This house is unoccupied. Take possession. Once taken, others cannot enter, and the items inside are yours. Take it. I felt no guilt. The person was gone, and I'd buried her with my own hands. This house was rightly mine. A second outpost, in hand, meaning I could use it as a new center to push my exploration range further out. The house was as empty as mine. No villagers, no scroll. Likely once a lord dies, the scroll vanishes and the hut becomes ownerless. Her timber was all gone. Used to make torches. The stone's still there. She simply hadn't known the kerosene lamp formula. But one unremarkable thing in the corner made the golden formula before my eyes jump out on its own. Bluestone or times 1 coal times 10 glass times 1 bluestone lamp. Self-burns 10 hours. Non-consumable, coal rechargeable. Bluestone or times 1 iron ingot times 1 starlight stone star-burning stone carving. Eternal radiance. Purifies a fixed range of fog. Bluestone or, well now, this thing, even I'd never seen. My mind raced. It couldn't be something she'd scouted out. She didn't even know the kerosene lamp formula. Couldn't scrape together the torches for a second foray. So there was only one explanation. It was her starting resource. But here's the question. Why didn't I have it? The answer was bold, but logical. The rules never said everyone's start was the same. Very likely it allotted different starting resources by person. Weak women got more, even rare materials. Strong men got the least. Me, just 3 pieces of bread and 2 bottles of water. This game, from the very start, had tagged people by weakness. Thinking it through, that brother who'd traded 200 coal for water, that pile of coal was, 9 times in 10, also a starting gift. For him to have that much, either he had some bodily defect, or some other hardship. Apart from that, there was no other answer. The star-burning stone carving could permanently purify a 5 by 5 patch of fog. Carry it on me, and I'd never fret over the fog again. But one thing was still short, a starlight stone. Find it, and even kerosene lamps would be a thing of the past. I took the blue stone, or built a wooden water trough for the carp and poured water in to keep it, then took the 2 villagers into the fog again. Exploration crept to 15%. I drew an X on the map. Villager 1 stayed not far off to gather tree resin, could synthesize plastic and rubber. Just as I made for the stream to fish, crunch, my foot stepped on something hard. Looking down, a finger bone about 20 centimeters long. This was absolutely not a human bone. The cold wind blew through, a chill to the marrow. Even out beyond the fog, my heart tightened. The quieter it got, the harder my brow knit. Keep a sharp watch. Villager 2 gripped his axe. Further on, another finger bone. Then dozens of skeletons, packed densely across the ground, some not yet weathered, bloody and mangled, like walking into hell. Among them, one animal skeleton was very fresh, its innards hollowed out. The same method. Something terrifying lived in this place. But right there in this heap of bones, the golden formulas welled up row by row. Stone times 5 alloy, or water times 1 villager times 1 super alloy shield soldier. Black python sinew times 1 timber times 1 underground river spring water villager peerless crossbow god. My eyelids trembled with excitement. Since these formulas I'd never seen had lit up, it meant there were extremely precious resources nearby. Danger? I'm cautious, but no coward. My very first day transmigrated, I dared go out for 40 minutes and didn't lose my head even when my markers were destroyed. That alone is courage. All the more so with a kerosene lamp in hand. The true terror in the fog couldn't leave the fog. In the face of temptation, this much risk was nothing. Stepping over the bones, 30 seconds on. At my feet, a pure silver treasure chest glinted among the white bones, only a tenth the size of the wooden one. Open. Obtained. Alloy or water times 1. Black python sinew times 1. Alloy or water. The mineral water that could evolve a villager. The black python sinew needed underground river spring water to use, which I didn't have yet, but it was no less valuable. This trip, I'd more than broken even. I cleaned up. 15% explored, 2 precious items, plus a free hunt and a chunk of bluestone ore. But just as I took out the map to mark it, roar! Out of the fog, a pitch-black shape suddenly shot out. A giant wild boar over half a meter tall, almost right in my face. My pupils shrank, not in fear, in shock. Weren't monsters unable to leave the fog? This boar, how'd it get out? But the next second I understood, this boar's eyes were full of terror. It hadn't come to attack me. It was fleeing the thing in the fog. That thing was driving it at me, to force me to drop my lamp and back into the fog. Once I lost my light, that was when I'd truly be doomed beyond saving. And in that moment, Villager 2 stepped up to shield me, legs trembling, yet gripping his axe for dear life. My lord, back away. Whatever you do, don't drop the lamp. It hit me all at once. Why were there no villager bodies around that woman's corpse? Because her villagers died before her, blocking the monster, buying her time to flee. Folks, those people in the channels, leaning on their villagers' 100% loyalty, stewed and ate them. While these 2 of mine, strangers to me, were willing to block a boar for me, to die. What separates these 2 kinds of people isn't the fog, it's the human heart. I wouldn't let him block it for nothing. I tossed the alloy or water to him. Catch. Opening the crafting bench, I flung in 5 stone. Stand on it. The boar knew priorities. It wheeled around and lunged at me. I'd trained 2 years in combat. Heartbeat pressed to dead still. Dodge. Grip the axe. Chop down. Clang. My hand went numb. The axe snapped clean, and the boar didn't even have a mark on it. What tough hide. But in that flash of an instant, the synthesis was done. Thank you, my lord. Villager 2 leapt down from the bench, his skin turning to dark rock all over, a giant stone shield on his left arm, an iron axe gripped in his right. Alloy shield soldier. The boar charged howling. Bring it on. The shield soldier stamped a foot that shattered the bones on the ground, raised his shield to meet it. Bang! After the great crash, I, crouched behind the shield, felt nothing at all. That boar was rammed, flying a full 3 meters, slamming hard to the ground. What tremendous force! Even I watched with envy, though the business of his left hand being fused into the shield that I couldn't accept. The shield soldier rushed in, one stroke of the iron axe, splitting the boar's skull clean open. In seconds, the great beast went still. Large wild boar slain. Decomposable dot. Decompose. Boar meat times 5. Damaged boar hide times 1. Boar tusks times 2. Boar blood times 500 ml. The meat could be eaten or cured into bacon. The hide could make clothes for the villagers. Couldn't very well leave them running around naked. The tusks could synthesize a dagger. And the blood, drink it to improve your constitution, with unexpected effects. I filled the 2 empty water bottles with boar blood. Stomach-turningly rank, but I tipped my head back and drank it dry, not a drop left. In an instant, my whole body went hot, the heat surging, muscles tightening, strength brimming. A ding sounded in my ear. Congratulations on unlocking the personal attribute panel. On the scroll's first page, the 5 options became 6, and extra Lord attributes. Lord, Suchun Explorations 2 region explored 17% territories, conquered 0 refuges 2, Constitution 13, Strength 14, Agility 12, Endurance 15, and Ordinary Persons is 10 across the board. Items held. Grade A Black Python Sinew. Grade B Bluestone Block. Every attribute higher than an Ordinary Person's. That was the first bottle of boar blood's doing. I snatched up the second and downed it too, and watched with my own eyes as every attribute rose another 3 points. Good stuff. Pity there were only 2 bottles. There was a pit full of bones on the ground still, good for calcium and bone meal, all material for strengthening the body. I don't waste. I crouched and picked them up one by one. Obtained animal bone times 1. Times 1. Just as I'd picked the bones clean, half a stone slab surfaced from the mud, its face carved full of mysterious patterns. Mysterious stone slab. In the unseen workings of fate, it points the way to the ruins. Folks, let's tally this trip's haul. A free hut, a chunk of bluestone, or a vial of alloy or water that could upgrade a villager, a grade of black python sinew, a villager evolved into a shield soldier, a batch of risen attributes, and last, a stone slab pointing to the ruins. That thing in the fog, innards hollowed out, herding prey, lurking in the dark watching me the whole way. I still hadn't seen its true face. But this slab told me. What hid beneath this fog was far more than it alone. The real show was inside the ruins. That slab was buried deep in the mud, immovable. I had Villager 2 try, veins bulging, feet sinking into the mud. Even his evolved monstrous strength strained to pull it. And once out, I found it wasn't a slab. It was a 50-centimeter cube, all 6 faces carved with hundreds of characters. Not a human script. I'm fluent in several languages and had never seen its like. The ruins grew more inscrutable. 3 golden words suddenly leapt up before me. Collectible. Collect. The cube shuddered, silver light spilling everywhere, shrinking madly, until it became a thumb-sized die, the hundreds of characters on it glowing an eerie black, and with a hum the light went out entirely. No prompt, couldn't read it, didn't know what ruins meant. I couldn't be bothered burning energy studying it, and tucked it into my shirt pocket. It was of no shallow origin. I'd keep it close on me. In that moment, I clearly sensed that pair of eyes in the fog that had watched me the whole way had panicked. What it was panicking over I didn't know, but I smiled. It had stared at me the whole time, never leaving for a step, yet it had never once broken the fog or touched me. As long as the kerosene lamp was in my hand. Entering the dense woods, I left Villager 2 there to gather materials, stone, berries, antidote herb, and come back to the spot in 3 hours to wait for me. I gave him 40 lamps. At the wood's entrance, I drew a triangle marker and tinkered with it a little, expressly to guard against that thing pulling one over on me again. Why focus on those 3 things? Stone. A safe house can evolve, and evolution needs vast amounts of stone. Berries. Edible and could be made into dried fruit. Store up enough and food worries were over. Antidote herb. Posted on the World Channel, a hot item. Arrangements made, I took the fishing rod to the riverside to get dinner and find scarce materials along the way. The World Channel was far quieter than the day before. Those who spoke, their words were all despair. 2 days no food. The villagers are starved to skin and bone. Just heard a woman crying outside the door, a black shadow moving. I didn't dare open it. I had my red on it. By day 2, about half the people learned torches and dared go out. The lucky ones lived, but most would end like that woman's corpse. But the woman crying puzzled me. If it were a real woman, the first instinct would be to knock, not cry. That sound was, 9 times in 10, made by the thing in the fog. And another thing, the fog actually had weather. It could rain. I cast my line with bait, berries, and opened the regional channel. Region online, 578, over 800 yesterday, and over 200 gone in one day. At this rate, by tomorrow only 200 or 300 would be left. The elimination rate was terrifying. Big Shot Ming Yu hasn't been online a whole day, ever since he said he'd go out to explore. To be ready to explore is to be ready to die. Fishing and mining intel as I went, I sorted out a few things. Safe houses could be upgraded. A level 2 came with a fish pond, vegetable garden, and cottage. The fog's nature was deception. A woman's cry, a baby's cry, even moaning, were all that thing's lures. Could the attribute panel rise without limit? And the talents of talent recruitment, where did they come from? A tangle of threads. Reeling in, today's catch wasn't bad. 12 black carp, 3 sorry, for Christian carp, plus the boar meat. Enough for me for 10 days, or 5 with the villagers along. Water was settled too. The resin villager 1 gathered. I synthesized into 20 resin bottles, each holding 1 liter, 20 liters of clean water in hand. The 3 hours were nearly up. Villager 2 should be back at that triangle marker. I headed back. 5 minutes later, I stopped. A standard triangle marker on the ground, but Villager 2 wasn't there. An ordinary person would panic about now. I curled the corner of my mouth instead, because I'd counted the steps, 728 steps coming, 745 going back. A difference of 17 steps. Don't underrate those 17. I keep my stride locked at 60 centimeters, with a margin of error of at most 3 steps. A gap of 17 meant only one thing. This marker underfoot wasn't drawn by me. Better still, the triangle I drew had a 1 millimeter gap in the middle of the left line. This one before me had all 3 lines meeting flush, no gap. That thing in the fog had gotten anxious. It had erased my marker bit by bit and redrawn an identical line and landmark, just to lure me here. Its methods were craftier than last time. But however crafty, it couldn't change one fact. It couldn't leave the fog. As long as it couldn't trap me, I had all the time in the world. What was truly in danger was Villager 2. His wits were no match for mine. 40 lamps wouldn't last long, and failing to find me, he might take a risk. My heart sank hard. A terrible thought surfaced. This time, was that thing's target never me from the start, but Villager 2? It had driven the boar to force me into the fog and failed, instead letting me evolve Villager 2 into a shield soldier and counterkill the boar. It could never have recognized synthesize a shield soldier. So it bumped my danger rating up again, laid out this trap, meaning to scoop up Villager 2 and me in one net. In the end, you're nothing but a thing that can't show its face. I stared at one corner of the fog, my voice cold. I was certain a pair of eyes was there. Ha 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 ha. A cold laugh, devoid of emotion, came from the fog. Folks, this was the first time it answered me. Not a cry, not a baby's wail. A cold laugh laced with contempt. It really did have a mind. But the time left for Villager 2 was only 20 minutes. I didn't dare bet on whether he could still live if the fog swallowed him. I had to be fast. Did it really think this could trap me? I backed up 17 steps, returning to a spot equidistant from the original, 436 meters from the riverside. The thing had changed my endpoint, but it couldn't change my distance from the river. Since I was equidistant from the river, then drawing a circle with the riverside as center and 436 meters as radius, I had only to walk half the arc of that circle, and I'd be sure to loop back to where Villager 2 waited for me. 1,370 meters at most. There was just one hard part. How, in a fog with no sense of direction, to walk out a standard semicircular arc on foot? Legs aren't a compass. But I'd been to the origin point. That was my advantage. As long as I controlled my stride, didn't charge straight ahead, and hugged this arc, I could find it. I counted as I walked. 358, 359, at the 360th step, stop. Still fog behind. But ahead the goby appeared, nearly to the edge. Any further, and I'd be back at my own hut. No reference points around. I matched everything against the map. The shape of the boulder, the boundary between Gobi and woods, the second hut, the bone field, the water source, the earth mound, the berry trees. I'd marked everything I'd seen along the way on this map. The moment I hit any one reference, I could fix my position. That was what a top-tier player should do. The Gobi appeared, and a chime sounded in my ear. Region exploration reached 20%. 5% yesterday, and 20% in one push today. At this rate, 7 days, and I'd have it all unlocked. Less than halfway from the 60% purification mark. But of the 17 minutes, only half was left. I had to turn back. This arc had missed Villager 2's position. The sky was a dull gray, telling no hour, but it should be near dusk, and at nightfall, danger doubled. I lowered my head to look for clues. Under the kerosene lamp's light, a wisp of white smoke drifted slowly toward me. That thing in the fog had finally bared its fangs. It had run out of patience. SSS. Amid a snake-like hiss, where the white smoke passed, grass and trees withered instantly. Poison gas. Deadly poison. I was still a mortal body now. Touch this stuff, and even antidote herb might not save my life. I turned back at once, and my heart sank further. The dangers in the fog were far more than one kind. Turning back, faint bang, bang, cracking sounds came from the fog. That was the sound of the shield soldiers' shields slamming the ground. Villager 2. Following the sound. Villager 2 stood on the marker, blood at the corner of his mouth, a tusk run through his chest, his shield all over with blood, his iron axe densely cracked and on the verge of failing. My lord, look out! He raised his shield to block in front of me. A boar charged in, its skull cracked, flesh and blood flying, yet its eyes still wild with savage menace. The stone shield, driven deep into the ground, cracked hairline by hairline before my eyes. These beasts have gone mad. I can't hold much longer. Villager 2's voice trembled. So before I'd arrived, he'd been swarmed by a dozen-some boars charging without regard for their lives, fighting to this moment, badly hurt. In a flash of an instant, I went calm, my mind racing. Why was there no boar where I appeared? With my current ability, run into this many boars and all I could do was flee for my life. That thing was genuinely clever. Why didn't it sick the boars on me, but went for Villager 2 instead? Self-contradictory. Unless the eyes watching me were more than one pair, and the boar's range of movement was limited. Otherwise, they had no reason not to come bite me. Working it out, I looked at the battered Villager 2 and spoke coldly. Back home first. There was nothing left to explore here. The Gobi and grassland I'd nearly all unlocked. Only the north and south boundary points left. Lamps still in hand, but no longer fit to scout with. Back to the hut, regroup. 2 explorations, and I'd grasped the fog's terror, found a water source, made out some rules, and was guessing what that thing really was. The situation grew more inscrutable, but the truth would out sooner or later. In the end, I had to face it head-on, not flee. Endless dodging would only leave me more passive. Back at the hut's attributes fully unlocked, a 7th option appearing on the scroll. Territory upgrade. Holding level 1 territory. 2 functions. Blocks fog, simple crafting, immovable, non-collectible upgradable, branch selectable. Underground fortress floating island war chariot ordinary level 2 territory. 4 evolution paths. I opened each to check the materials. Underground fortress needed 500 iron blocks, 2,000 resin, 3,000 clay. With my bit of material, a pipe dream. Floating island wanted floating stone and firefly grass, things I'd never even heard of. But the third, war chariot, stirred my heart. Turn the safe house into a chariot, and it could drive around. Exploring the region would become 100 times simpler. The cost was that a chariot blocked fog but not beasts, and the materials were precious. Rubber, alloy blocks, glass, steel plate, treads. Note, the chariot needs fuel to run and can mount artillery. Folks, a safe house that drives around and can mount a cannon. Make this thing for real, and that thing in the fog is nothing. The plan was clear. My main house, upgrade to ordinary level 2 first. That free hut, keep it to convert into a chariot. The underground fortress and floating island were too far off, set aside for now. Why upgrade to level 2 first? The function blurb alone tempted me. The main room expands from 5 by 5 to 10 by 10, adds a cottage. The villagers finally don't have to cram into one room with me, and adds a vegetable garden, fish pond, and stove. Grow vegetables in the garden, raise fish in the pond. From then on, even without going out, I could be self-sufficient within my territory. This was quantitative change turning qualitative. But the materials were still a stretch short. Stone, clay, fences, timber, all insufficient. Out there the sky was near dark, exploration unrealistic, and my remaining 63 lamps couldn't bear the wear. One exploration burned over 100. That consumption was terrifying. I turned my eyes to the world channel. Trading for materials brooked no delay. That thing in the fog, that could laugh coldly, spit poison, and was more than one pair of eyes. I'd have it out with sooner or later. But before that, I had to thicken my foundation first. Upgrade the territory, build a chariot that could mount a cannon. The day I drove a war chariot out of this little broken hut. This game of chess was when it'd be my turn to flip the board and play host. By now the world channel was livelier than by day, but the whole tune had changed. Day 1 the screen was full of distress calls. Day 2, no one was calling for help anymore. Everyone had grasped one truth. In this environment, begging others for charity was the most absurd thing. Just keeping yourself alive was hard enough. So it shifted to sharing. Kerosene lamp formulas, water source trades, the warning that the thing in the fog changes your markers, don't mark the ground. Heads up, Day 2's almost over. Anyone with a horn use it now. After today it's void. I've got a steel plate I can't move for the moment. PM me if you want it. Steel plate. My eyes moved. The materials to convert a chariot included it, and I needed 15. The more the better. I noted this person. Folks, here's something funny. Those Day 1 lone wolves who hadn't said a word, loath even to use their horn. By Day 2 they were all dumbstruck. The regional headcount plummeted. In trying to live on their own, every step was a hurdle. Food, water, crafting, exploration, the fog's strangeness, sickness, beasts, lack of materials, one after another driving the lone wolves to their deaths. Going out was even more hopeless. The wild, it turned out, had few resources either. So the high IQ lone wolves were all itching to get back to the channels and band together. I'm a lone wolf too, but I had one enormous advantage over anyone. I could see every crafting formula. With materials I could synthesize anything. And precisely because of that, I couldn't share. Once a formula leaked, players' power would badly imbalance. Anyone with materials would synthesize strong gear and turn into a locust of endless plunder. I could govern myself, but not others. The attribute panel, territory upgrades, all of it. Others hadn't unlocked yet, and I was already out in front of the whole field. Just as I made to switch to the regional channel, a message slammed into my eyes. Big shots, what's a starlight stone good for? Picked one up in the wild, trade it for a bottle of water. Starlight stone, bluestone or iron ingot starlight stone, star-burning stone carving, eternal radiance, purifies fog. The very thing I'd nearly given up finding had come knocking on my door. I PM'd over at once. You selling the starlight stone? I'm quite interested. The other end was someone called Xiaoyu. Big one, what's a starlight stone for? If you want to buy it, you must know what it does, right? Well now, no one who'd made it through Day 1 was a soft touch. Even this seeming naive one wanted to use the pretext of selling to coax the use out of me. As if I'd fall for it. You're joking, I just got here same as you. How would I know its use? Sounds like a good thing by the name, so I'll buy it first, maybe it'll appreciate. Watertight, and I'd laid bare my motive up front. Then pity, I can sell the starlight stone, but what'll you trade? Don't say water, I'm not short on that. In a negotiation, whoever names a price first loses. I had to wall off the price in one line, or this woman would surely push for more. She said she wasn't short on water, but she didn't say she wasn't short on food. Would someone who lacked neither water nor food go to the channel to sell things? No. So, what she lacked was food. 1 piece of boar meat. Too little. 3 at least. She wanted the villagers' share thrown in too. But that played right into my hands. I had 5 pieces of boar meat. Food was no worry at all. Deal. I answered crisply, which instead gave her a sense of having been had. But the trade was underway, and there was no backing out. A flash of light, and my pack was 3 pieces of meat lighter and 1 stone heavier. Goose egg sized, smooth, not glowing. No wonder she was eager to offload it. A starlight stone looked, truly, like just a broken stone. Thank you, big shot. She was even pleased. Heh, if she knew what this stone could synthesize, she'd likely chew her guts out with regret. I opened the crafting bench and put the starlight stone, the bluestone ore, and my last iron ingot on it together. In an instant, the whole hut blazed with light, like a small sun rising, sparks of starfire splashing down like fireflies, like rain. The light gathered in, the stars fell, and on the bench appeared a blue glass sphere shedding eternal radiance. Synthesis successful. A star-burning stone carving, level 1. Eternal radiance disperses fog within a 5 by 5 area, its light like a god's, inspiring, awed. Upgradable, level 2, disperses 10 by 10 dot. Advanceable, meet the conditions at level 10 to advance to a star-burning stone idol. Requires building a temple to enshrine it. Cast as a divine idol, it can collect faith points. Well now, level 10 advancement, building a temple, collecting faith points, was the end game of this game, headed straight for becoming a god. The star-burning stone carving, I rated it grade S. I picked it up, pushed the door open, and stepped into the fog. Where the light shone, the fog vanished entirely. Kerosene lamps, farewell to you. I let out a long breath. The days of exploring with a kerosene lamp in hand were too grueling. Making lamps 8 materials, they went out every 5 minutes, and I had to split off the 2 villagers to gather. Now with this, no more splitting off, gathering efficiency doubled, and I could stay out a whole day without fear. Every kind of trouble, solved at a stroke. Glorious. Then, one piece of business at a time. First, treat villager 2, antidote herb water styptic salve, applied to the wound on his chest to ward off tetanus. Thank you, my lord. He was moved to tears. He'd never thought I'd still remember him at a time like this. Offhand, I checked his status. Alloy shield soldier, level 1 arm strength 800 kilograms, left arm a stone shield, can block fatal blows, shield reparable, advanceable dot. Advancing to level 2 took 20 iron ingots and 5 stone. Arm strength would jump straight to 1,600 kilograms, fiercer than the overlord Xiangyu. Pity I didn't have a single iron ingot now, and even if I did, the chariot had to come first. Tally the family fortune. 30 liters of clean water, a week's drinking, but a short shelf life, so spend it first. 15 fish at 27 kilos, 3 pieces of boar meat, 75 berries. No worry for food or drink. The white beast eggs still kept, could be eaten if truly starved, no need for now. Basic materials, timber, resin, clay were decent, stone only 127, coal down to 3 lumps. 2 treasures stayed put on me at all times, the stone cube die, the black python sinew. But matched against the materials list to upgrade to level 2 territory. Stone needed 1,000, I had 127. Clay 500, timber 500, plus 200 fences, which alone took 600 clay and 200 timber. Far short. A long road ahead. I nailed my eyes back to the world channel. The work before me was packed full. Trade for materials to upgrade to level 2 territory. Hoard steel plate to convert the chariot. Find underground river spring water for villager 1 to evolve into a crossbow god. Take the level 10 star burning stone carving to build a temple. And that stone cube die, forever pointing at the ruins, still unsolved. Folks, don't look at me still holed up in a little broken hut now. But the road was already laid at my feet. Eternal light, I had it. A chariot that could mount a cannon on the blueprint. Even the shadow of becoming a god had flickered into view. That cold laughing thing in the fog, you wait a bit longer. Once I've thickened this fortune, the one knocking on the door will be me. What I lacked to upgrade to level 2 was all basic material. And lucky it was basic, or it'd truly have been a far-off dream. I went first to that player listing the steel plate. Chinbo, what's steel plate good for? I probed first. Not too sure, but it should be a good thing. I'm short on water right now. I've turned away several who came to trade for the steel plate. I reckon 1 steel plate's worth more than a liter of water. These 2 lines carried no small amount of intel. First, he genuinely didn't know the steel plate's use. Second, he was sitting on a rare good and meant to drive the price up. Third, he was desperately short of water, or he wouldn't be rushing to offload. I laid it all out for him in one breath. Brother, steel plate's a good thing, true, But before you've got the formula, it's a one-time consumable. Synthesize wrong, and it's wasted. If you've only got one, I'll offer 1 liter of water at most. Synthesis fails, and that liter of mine's down the drain. But if you've got more than one, I can test synthesize. If you've got 10 plus, I'll give 2 liters of water per plate. My aim was pure. To convert a chariot took at least 15 steel plates. If he had only one, I'd rather not trade. Steel plate wasn't rare like a starlight stone. Going out myself, I'd find some sooner or later. The other end went silent for a full 5 minutes. Then he laid his cards down. I won't hide it from you. While exploring, I came across a flipped-over Jeep, and I stripped 15 steel plates off it, plus rubber, a steering wheel, iron blocks. I took it all. But my torches burned out, and I'm trapped in my hut now. Can't even do a second exploration. I'm short on water, and short on torches and kerosene lamps too. Supply me those, and I'll sell you the whole lot. Well now, my heart leapt, but I held it down on the surface. 10 liters of water, 20 kerosene lamps, for your 15 steel plates, plus the rubber, steering wheel, and iron blocks. I'll take all of it. 10 liters of water I genuinely didn't lack. I knew exactly where the river was. Kerosene lamps, ever since I had the star-burning stone carving, were a heap of scrap to me. Trading those two for a whole set of chariot materials, a killing. I silently checked it against the chariot's materials list. Rubber, steel plate, those two were settled. What remained short was alloy metal blocks and treads. Glass could be processed from resin, and though I hadn't found the way to treads yet, it shouldn't be hard. Brother, Chunbo added, I know you. The one selling clean water on the World Channel yesterday. That was you, right? You're a big shot. If you find out the steel plate's formula, be sure to tell me. I'll sell to you at a discount. Count it as making a friend. A clever man with an excellent memory. He remembered me selling water yesterday. A man like this made a reliable friend and a troublesome enemy. But the formula I wouldn't give. Sure, if I find the steel plate formula, I'll be sure to tell you. A pleasantry, watertight. Then thank you so much, big shot. I kept 1 steel plate for myself, don't mind. For rubber, 5 iron blocks, 1 steering wheel, I can trade now. A straightforward man. I was straightforward too. 10 liters of water plus 20 lamps, confirmed. The materials in hand, the golden formulas welled up with a whoosh. Steel plate, iron block, rubber glider car, fast ground gliding, watch for obstacles. Iron block, rubber alloy, metal block, double-barreled shotgun. Got any gunpowder? Rubber oil. That last one I swiped away on sight. Folks, the only thing I could find in the wild was a woman's corpse. What would I synthesize that thing for? The key locked onto alloy metal blocks. With them, not only could I build the chariot, I could synthesize a double-barreled shotgun outright. Gunpowder or not, get the gun in hand first. With a gun, why worry about bullets? Matching the level 2 list again, I was still short. Over 800 stone, 700 clay, over 200 timber. The fences weren't synthesized yet, which would eat into clay and timber. My 1 world horn that day was still unused, and a shout was enough for this much material. I broadcast straight on the World Channel. I need 900 stone, 700 clay, 300 timber. Those with materials PM me with your asking terms. State them straight. No haggling. And don't worry, I can't pay, thanks. This one shout blew up the World Channel on the spot. Which big shot needs this much material? Mad. What's he want this much for? It's the big shot Su-chun, the one who sold 10 liters of clean water yesterday. Meat? I'm drooling. Got any cold medicine? I'm sick. Folks, why'd they blow up like that? These few days transmigrated. Everyone passing the days like years. People dying daily. They'd begun to doubt. This broken world simply couldn't let anyone live well. You were either starving or waiting to die. Then I'd surfaced, and they saw hope. He can, so why can't I? I'd become these people's hope of living on. The private inbox was crammed with tens of thousands of messages in minutes. And the regional channel hadn't quieted either. A sharp-memoried one muttered, "Wasn't there a Su-chun yesterday who asked something in our region?" Same name, surely. If it's really him, he couldn't not show up in the regional channel. I sifted the PMs one by one. Mining all that material by myself wasn't realistic. That time was better spent fishing, finding ruins. Stumble onto a chest, and that was another windfall. Put bluntly, I couldn't yet be called a lord. Ever seen a lord with just 2 villagers under him? Once I had a talent recruitment card and recruited a batch of people, that'd count. Sifting along, I found one sitting on 300 stone. Lewin, you want to trade 300 stone for 10 liters of water plus one piece of meat? Yes. Big shot Suchun, we can trade right now. No, I refused flat. Water I'd grant, but meat I couldn't always bring back. Trade like this with everyone and my resources wouldn't stretch. 10 liters of water, no meat. Take it or leave it. If not, I'll find someone else. Big shot, bullying me like this, doesn't it pain you? Lewin got anxious. I know you've got a water source. Give me some leeway. I'm really starving. Sorry, my conscience doesn't ache. I gave him a pointed line. Stone's a depreciating good. Soon everyone can mine it. Who'll want it then? 300 stone's no small amount. But put plainly, it's just a pile of rocks. What does a big shot want this much stone for? None of your business. He caved. Actually, the price was fair enough. He'd had it listed a whole day, and no one would trade clean water for stone. In these times, stone was the least valuable thing. Who'd be short of it? He'd mined like mad, gotten 300 stone stuck on his hands while the rest of his materials ran short, and was just then regretting having no plan. 10 liters of clean water for 300 stone, a huge profit. Half coaxing, half conning. I took the material and moved to the next. Deal after deal, my water, fish, and berries dropped fast. Water down to 5 liters, I stopped. Fish down to 3, I stopped. Berries cleared out entirely. In the small hours, the materials were finally complete. 1,000 stone, 1,100 clay, 700 timber. Only the last step left. Synthesize the clay and timber into 200 fences. Deep in the night, yet I was too excited to sleep. The 200 fences synthesized, the pack flashed red full. The system pack has a cap too, about 2,000 units. I picked up the star-burning stone carving and walked out. Upgrade to level 2 territory. Stone 1,000 1,000ths. Clay 500 500ths. Fences 200 200ths. Timber 500/500. Use. Yes. In an instant, the materials all vanished. The scroll on me blazed with light. Dense points of light falling like meteors through the fog. I hurriedly drew out the scroll. It was trembling, like a book under a spell, spreading layer by layer, turning page by page. As the pages turned, I watched with my own eyes as my little broken hut began to dissolve, turning to ash, turning to starlight, drawn into the pages bit by bit. The next second, those swallowed-up starlights turned into pure white grains, falling on the wind, settling, growing madly at a visible speed. Walls, railings, doors, windows, roof tiles. The walls rising 1 meter, 2, 3. Another stone house springing up alongside. Stone walls and a wooden roof. Behind the house surfaced a 2-meter-deep pool, vegetable garden, fish pond, stove, their outlines taking shape. A scene out of a fairy tale, now laid out before me, real and true. 10 minutes. The points of light scattered away. I stood at the door of my brand new level 2 territory, dumbstruck. The scroll gently closed. Level 2 territory expansion successful. Explorable area +1. This string of sounds was a global announcement. Before I'd said a word, the world channel had already blown wide open. Holy hell, what kind of a mortal is this? Level 2 territory expansion. You all heard that sound too? It's a global announcement, not regional. Big shot Suchun, incredible. No wonder he suddenly wanted that much material. Turns out it was to upgrade to level 2. The bigger shock came after. Someone shouted, "Open the scroll. A second page has appeared." I opened the scroll's second page too. Leaderboard. Construction board E number 1 Suchun. Resource board number 1 Suchun. Exploration board E number 1 Suchun. Number 1 on all 3 boards, all me, without exception. And the 3 runners-up board, different names. Number 2 Jessica or Russia. Folks, with just this, everyone finally caught on. The World Channel came with built-in translation, and we weren't even from the same country at all. Holy crap, lucky this immortal's one of us, a fellow Chinese. And here I thought you were all from the land of the rising sun. You're not Korean? Oh God, I thought we were countrymen. A screen full of question marks, chickens talking to ducks, a total muddle. And I, while bloodying all 3 boards at once, the reward was issued. Congratulations to the first to build a level 2 territory. Reward dispatched, May it spur you all on. The whole world was guessing what the reward was. Why won't you tell us? Tell you. And how would others stay ahead? I opened the pack. 3 things. Compass. Points the way in the fog. You may doubt yourself, but never doubt the compass. Clock. Still fretting over time? It solves that for you. A crate of bread. Eat it before it spoils. The compass, a divine artifact. From now on, I'd never have to draw those lousy ground markers the fog monster could tamper with. The clock mattered too. This place had fog blotting out the sky, no sun visible, day and night indistinguishable. Maybe this world had no sun at all. But for a person to lose all sense of time is a frightening thing. The rhythm goes off, and you fall ill. With this, I could set a schedule. That crate of grain bread, a 50-centimeter long box, 20-some caddies, shelf life 15 days, 1 piece fills you up. This wasn't food. This was hard currency. It could trade for so much that I couldn't bear to eat it carelessly, and thought first of how to store it. Then I looked over this brand new level 2 territory. Neat stone brick outer walls, the texture clear. Inside, snow white walls, pure wood floors. No longer a lone room, but joined to a cottage. The 2 villagers finally didn't have to cram in with me. Inside, 2 beds, a little table, even hooks on the wall for hanging axes. The master bedroom, a soft bed, bedding and pillows complete, comfier than a Simmons mattress. By the bed, a stove that needed no fuel, defied conservation of matter, and burned away by itself. A nightstand that doubled as a desk for refining the map at night and setting the next day's plan. A round table, railings, even 2 potted plants set out. The bedroom alone was 100 square meters, 4 times bigger than before. The materials I had no use for yet, piled in the room, didn't crowd it in the least. The thing I'd worried over hadn't happened. The water trough I'd built into the wall in the level 1 territory still hung on the left wall after upgrading, and that carp still swam in it. In the whole world, only I had upgraded a territory, and I'd found it could go further. Level 3. The level 3 materials list: alloy metal or sturdy stone, glass, metal fences, flame core. I had not one of. But the goal stood. Level 1 to level 2. The reward this rich, the house a heaven and earth difference. Upgrade to level 3 and it'd be a fortress of steel, an independent kitchen, a bathroom, plus a militia barracks, a training ground, and what stirred me most was a temple. A level 3 territory could expand a temple, and a temple could collect faith points. What faith points I didn't know yet, but by the name alone, it surely was no simple thing. Goal set. I cooked a pot of refreshing carp soup and roasted a piece of boar meat on the stove. No salt, no seasoning, but the roast boar had a good chew. The 3 of us ate and drank our fill, and I was so refreshed I barely needed sleep. But the 2 villagers had gathered a whole day. Villager 2 was still hurt and his stone shield was self-repairing, so I sent them to rest in the cottage. While they slept, I opened a regional channel. Region online, 388, 1,000 people, and in under 3 days, fewer than 400 left. The elimination rate was appalling. Menu came online. I'm back. Sorry to worry everyone. No one was worried about you, someone jabbed. But Mengyu's next line struck my heart. By the way, today I found a stretch of ruins. Ruins? That stone cube die in my right pocket was pointed at exactly the ruins. How could I not be thrilled? But the ruins had a mechanism. Mengyu couldn't get in and circled outside for over half an hour with no way through. I stared at that die in my hand that no one could decipher. A thought catching fire. Could this thing be the very key to opening the ruins? But the key was in my hand, and the location in his. Ally. I glanced at the shield soldier villager 2 asleep in the cottage, and felt sure. Even in a real alliance I held the overwhelming upper hand. But the moment I allied, the treasure in the ruins would have to be split evenly, and worse, my secret of the one-of-a-kind crafting formulas might leak. Kill him for the treasure? Not to that point. Best of all was to coax the ruins location out of him without contact. Thinking it through, on the regional channel, I typed out a line. I can open the ruins. Folks, to fish, you need bait. This one line was the hook I cast out. Whether Mengyu, this big fish, bit, the next part will tell. I can open the ruins. This one line stunned everyone in the regional channel. Said by anyone else, they'd laugh it off, but the one who'd said it was me. The whole channel boiled over. Big shot Su Chen, awesome. He just finished a level 2 territory, and now he can open ruins. I'd believe it if he drove a mech up to my door next. Take me along. Let me cling to your leg. Husband Suchun, I'll bear you 8 in one go. I ignored all of it, just watched the channel, waiting for one person, Mengyu. Right now, he was the only one who'd touched the ruins location. Mengyu replied, I get it, let's talk in PM. He wasn't dumb, he knew what I was after. I know you want to explore the ruins, and I know the location, and I copied out a map too, but the map can't be transmitted. And of course, I can't fully trust you either. Natural, I wouldn't hold nothing back in your place either. I was direct. Name your price, I'll buy the location. I only wanted the location. This exploration could only be done by me alone, absolutely not bringing him, much less allying. The crafting formulas were one of a kind in all the world, known only to me, ally, and this greatest reliance would shrink, and the secret might leak. The human heart is unfathomable, all the more in the apocalypse, where killing was the most ordinary thing. Mengyu's asking price, though, made my heart tighten. I want only one thing, the upgrade conditions and materials list for a level 2 territory. Give me that, and I won't block your ruins exploration. The one who can open the ruins is you, not me anyway. Once you and I have unlocked the region, you'll find the ruins sooner or later. Selling to you now is the better deal. That sense of crisis, it sprang up right then. Him wanting food, water, iron, ore, none of that would faze me. But he wanted no material at all, only the level 2 upgrade conditions. What did that say? It said he didn't lack material. He had the confidence to wrestle me on resources and exploration. A rival full of self-confidence. But on second thought, I smiled again. When had I ever lacked confidence in myself? Besides, the level 2 list was no secret to begin with. He could see it himself once he opened the construction panel. Just doing a favor on the side. The more strong players in this world the better, or I'd be too lonely. This Mengyu was, 9 times in 10, the fattest player in this region besides me, and very likely sat on a water source too. Nice abacus, I replied. If I open the ruins and don't seal them, you can get in too. That's win-win, not me taking advantage one-sidedly, and besides, the key's in my hand. The list is yours. Try hard to stay alive. Don't disappoint me. I didn't wait for him to hand over the map first. I sent the level 2 list straight over. Splendid. I love dealing with a forthright man. This friend I'm making for sure. Mengyu sent the manuscript over. Landmarks and structures laid out in exhaustive detail. The ruins' location marked plainly. My own territory's location was on it too. Welcome over as a guest anytime. But looking at this map, my scalp went numb all at once. Gobi, forest, river. It was nearly a mirror image of my map. I grabbed the sharpened coal, and at the exact same scale, redrew both maps, then flipped Mengyu's upside down. The instant it flipped, my pupils shrank. Identical. Only every feature was reversed, with just a river between, in the middle. One conclusion remained. If Mengyu hadn't faked it, then he and I were in the same region, and he was on the far bank of the river. Measuring the river's width, 23 meters. A man could swim it, but I didn't dare, no telling what was in the water, no telling how long the river ran, and if a detour went wrong, even the compass couldn't save me. The only way was to build a boat. But timber 50 resin 50 alloy metal block 10 small boat. I had no alloy metal blocks, and if the ruins held nothing, I'd have wasted a boat for nothing. Not worth it. Mengyu's ruins were on the far bank, but by this mirror image, there was very likely one on my side too, about 4 kilometers off, a 20-minute walk. I drew a deep breath and decided, search my own side's mirror image first. Even if I came up empty, for kilometers would unlock another 10% plus of exploration, added to yesterday's. The total neared half. No loss. And it saved the boat materials too. Still, a first time into the ruins, who knew what was inside? But there'd surely be chests, and no few. I'd already opened a wooden chest and a silver one, both yielding fine goods, and the chest blurb stated plainly that the ruins may hold a great many treasure chests. For those chests alone, the ruins were worth a venture. I gave the stone cube die a squeeze. 6 faces written full of symbols no one could read, no system prompt. I didn't need to understand it either. What it recorded couldn't be some secret martial manual anyway. I took stock of the larder. 5 liters of clean water, a crate of bread, enough for the three of us 10 days. Food and water were no worry. The only thing to fret over was combat power. Villager 2 was a level 1 alloy shield soldier, able to take on a pack of boars head-on. Without him yesterday, my life would have stayed there. Villager 1 was far weaker. So tomorrow, Villager 1 stays home. There was a stone mine nearby. Let him mine, fish, tend the garden. The kerosene lamps were still enough for him. I didn't need lamps myself. The star-burning stone carving on my chest, eternal light, the fog couldn't come near. That was my nerve for braving the ruins. Before setting off, I used the 2 boar hides to synthesize 2 boarhide hemp robes for the 2 villagers. A bit rank, but at least it kept off wind and rain. They were all my people from here on. I couldn't leave them running around naked forever. I had to mind their feelings. But for some reason, my right eyelid kept twitching. Left eye twitches for fortune, right for woe. I'm not superstitious, but the groundless twitching unnerved me. Maybe the ruins' danger was something I hadn't fully reckoned. I ran through everything I could think of: poison gas, monsters, swamp, cliff, mechanisms, and even so, my odds of coming out alive were still high. The shield soldier could block, and I always pulled back at the first sign of trouble. Closing the window, I glimpsed strings of pitch-black silhouettes outside, beasts in the fog. The pattern I'd grasped. Beasts could leave the fog, but once out they were filled with terror, so players holding lamps were rarely attacked. But the moment the lamp went out, they died horribly. As for the thing that couldn't leave the fog, I'd never seen it, and could only piece it together from the channel crowd's descriptions. A woman's crying, a baby's wailing, an old man's coughing, moaning, plus that cold laugh I'd heard with my own ears. All sounds only a human could make. But was that thing in the fog truly human? That woman frightened to death. What, in her last moments, had she seen? Set that aside. I glanced at the white beast egg in my pack. Before, fearing a food shortage, I hadn't dared hatch it. Now, with a crate of bread, I could afford to raise it. If it hatched into something useless, big and gluttonous, worst case I'd set it free or eat it. In any case, I had no attachment to it. I set the egg by the stove. The stove could speed up hatching. The egg began to rock gently, faster and faster. I found myself tensing up with it. Instinct told me what was inside wouldn't be too bad. The white beast egg is about to hatch. Take it as a pet? Once bound, it cannot be undone unless the pet dies. Bind. I hesitated a moment. If it's life and death tied to mine, wouldn't it become a dead weight? Before hatching, the host drips blood onto the shell to bind it. Miss the chance, and it's deemed wild, uncollectible. Like a game's nurturing system, it piqued my interest. Bind a pet, and maybe it'd be a huge help exploring the ruins, even turn the tables. I'd thought through several outcomes, none of them much trouble. As long as I raised it well, it wouldn't die unnaturally. I fed even 2 villagers, afraid it'd eat for free. I had a garden and a fish pond. Can't wait any longer. The iron axe scored a cut on my arm, and a bead of blood dripped, dead center, into the shell. In an instant, the snow-white shell flushed blood red with a whoosh, like a phoenix egg, rocking violently. Crack, it split apart, the shards turning to red stardust, all plunging into the flames. A black shape shot out with a whoosh and vanished from my hand. Not a phoenix, not an azure dragon, not a wolf, fox, or dog. I'd thought it'd be a boar at worst, and it was none of them. Small, fast, like a mouse. Don't tell me it's really a rat. I bent over searching the room, and for the longest time found nothing. My heart kept sinking. A white beast egg, what good thing could it hatch? Raising a rat was a little too. Congratulations on collecting treasure hunting mole, white, as a pet. Terrible eyesight, superb sense of smell. No hidden treasure escapes its nose. But beware, a starving treasure hunting mole will eat dung, and what it leads you to may well be a turd. Suchun eats dung when starved? This setup's a bit absurd, but I didn't care in the least what it ate. I cared about only 2 words: treasure hunting. Folks, tomorrow I'd go into the ruins, and today of all days I hatched one made expressly for hunting treasure. What's that called? That's called fate working in the unseen. Tomorrow this little thing's help would be no small matter. It might just let me rake it in by the bushel. But first I had to coax it out. It feared light and had no vocal cords. A mole's home is forever dark, never to see light. and the stove's glow had stung it into ducking under the bed. I held out a piece of grain bread and shook it. The little fellow crept timidly out from under the bed, lay in my palm, fearful yet affectionate, and edged in cautiously to nibble. This drab little gray thing. And just like that, I took a liking to it. A night without a word. At daybreak, the little mole was still snoozing under the bed. I ate 2 pieces of bread, tugged its tail, and fed it some breadcrumbs. Not a picky eater, a fellow that'll even eat dung. Very easy to keep. I handed Villager 1 the day's work. Mine, fish, garden, pocketed the mole. It crouched in my left pocket, poking its head out now and then to sniff. Treasure nearby, and it'd squeak. Hung the star-burning stone carving on my chest, gripped the compass, took Villager 2, and headed out. With the compass, I was even spared drawing ground markers. For kilometers, head down and straight on, avoiding every place that might hold danger. But the whole way, it was abnormally still. No beasts, and the thing in the fog never showed itself, as if half of it had vanished into thin air. Dead silence, not a sound. My lord, this is far too wrong. Villager 2's voice went tight. Yesterday he'd battled a pack of boars alone without panic, yet today's eerie stillness left him uneasy. I know. The more it left me undisturbed, the more it said. The place I was headed was very dangerous. Yesterday it had schemed every way to kill me. There was no reason for it to be this quiet today. It was probably watching from the dark. But today, even that prying gaze, I couldn't sense. Only my right eyelid, twitching faster and faster. Dark clouds pressed down, refusing to part. Region exploration 30%. 30 more, and I'd uncover this region's true face. But right then, I felt no excitement at all, because I'd faintly begun to hear the sound of waves breaking on a shore. The sea. If there was a sea around here, then where I was coastal. To put it more boldly, a lone island. Mirror image, river, forest, Gobi, the intel world in my head. If this really was an island. The perimeter was Gobi Beach, the near center was forest, one side of the forest a river, and the river ran through the whole island. A mirror image unfolded map grew ever clearer in my mind, and a terrible thought detonated along with it. If this was a lone island, then the 1,000 survivors on it were all trapped to death within finite resources. Even if the fog cleared entirely, the materials would run dry in the end. By that day, to live, every person would have to plunder, to fight at any cost. 1,000 lords, 2,000 maxed loyalty warriors. If it truly came to war, what kind of scene would that be? If my map and menus could overlay as mirror images, the odds this was a lone island approached 100%. I didn't dare think further, only counted my steps clearly in my head. For kilometers, 6,600 steps. I stopped. The ruins, I'd arrived. Folks, my right eyelid was still twitching, the sound of waves slapping the shore in the distance, beat by beat. That thing in the fog that had watched me the whole way was, today of all days, nowhere to be seen. A ruins I couldn't read stood right before me. Beneath this abnormal calm, was it heaven-sent fortune or a net long since spread for me? I raised a hand and pushed. I stopped, raised my eyes and looked. Empty. No ruins, no cave, not even a decent-looking stone, the fog still all around. A gust of cold wind, and I nearly shivered. Misjudged? Impossible. I could doubt Mangyu's intel was wrong. Doubt the ruins weren't necessarily mirrored, but I'd never doubt myself. My calculations don't err by a hair. If there were ruins, they had to be at this exact point. Just as my mood darkened and brightened by turns, the treasure-hunting mole in my arms stirred. Its little claws scratched at my collar, its pink nose snuffing hard, those sesame seed eyes full of puzzlement. Found something. I followed its claw and looked at my feet. This patch of earth was harder than usual. I crouched and felt it. A thick layer of soil heaped up, rotting leaves pressed on top besides, as if deliberately covered by some outside force. Dig. Villager 2 swung the iron axe. Thunk, thunk, hacking away. A few minutes, the thick soil peeled back. A huge bluestone slab was revealed, vines crawling layer upon layer over it. I cut them one stroke at a time. Vines were basic material too, good for rope nets and traps. I collected them on the side and crouched for a close look. 2 meters square, carved full of fine patterns, somewhat like the symbols on the stone cube die, yet not quite. the die bore characters. This slab was more like pictographic images. I took out the paper and the sharpened coal and rubbed those patterns off sheet by sheet. What use it had I didn't know, but instinct told me, keep it. The slab couldn't be hauled away, so I'd haul away the writing on it. About an hour, I'd rubbed off 30-some sheets, all of it copied. Ding dong. Ruins discovered. But the moment this prompt sounded, my brow knit instead. The more I thought, the colder it got. Folks, think with me. These ruins weren't any temple or cave. They were a bluestone slab buried deep underground. Yet Mingyu, he'd not only found it, he dug all the soil off it, cut away all the vines, rubbed off all the patterns. Otherwise, the prompt would never have triggered. He had no treasure-hunting mole. Purely on a pair of eyes and a brain, he'd done the exact work I'd just done, identically. What terrifying insight. No wonder he didn't lack material. A player of this caliber, in caution, was perhaps no less than me. And that line in his PM, "Welcome to my territory as a guest." Thinking back now, it chilled me to the spine. The notion of killing for treasure, he very possibly had it. Aha. Then we'll see. Who falls to whom in the end? Dead center of the slab, a square slot. I took out the stone cube die. It hummed up a blue glow, the symbols flowing, and it actually broke free of my hand on its own, flying straight into the slot, a perfect fit. The blue light gathered in. The bluestone door opened. Rumble, rumble, the stone door slid slowly aside, revealing a pitch-black, deep spiral staircase. Cold wind surged up from the bottom of the pit, chilling. I'd made full preparations, yet staring into this bottomless black, I still hesitated. There was treasure below for certain, but would I make it back alive? However find the treasure, it didn't beat my own life. Worse still, the moment the stone door opened, the stone cube die in my hand vanished, single use. I'd meant to use it to open Mangyu's side's ruins too, and now that Abacus was dashed, I had only this one chance left. Riches or scrape by alive. As I dithered, the mole in my arms got anxious, its pink nose snuffing madly, clawing at my collar, straining for dear life to leap into that abyss. The answer was plain. Go. The stone cube die, the ruins location, the treasure-hunting mole, all in my hand. The star-burning stone carving, the level 2 territory, and the shield soldier villager too. Flinch with a hand like this, and it isn't caution, it's cowardice. I held down my twitching right eyelid and looked at villager 2, his face all gravity, gripping that rusty axe tight, cold sweat beading his brow. It was only 10 degrees out, and in his boarhide hemp robe, he was surely not hot. He was more nervous than I was. My lord, villager 2 spoke, his voice neither servile nor cocky. Your servant can promise only one thing, that I will die first. That's enough. I nodded and stepped in. The star-burning stone carving lit the moss-grown, dripping wet stairs, slick underfoot, but no matter. Villager 2 followed close. But the moment he entered, rumble, rumble, the bluestone slab overhead slid across, and in seconds, the only exit was sealed dead. Pitch black. The star-burning stone carving lit only a small patch ahead, and that bit of light, far from giving any sense of safety, made it all the more eerie. Thump, thump. I heard my own heartbeat. I stopped at once, turned, and warned Villager 2 in a low voice. Don't tense up. The heartbeat might draw living things, and so will the light. Keep quiet as you can. Common sense. Things that live in darkness year-round fear light. Their eyesight mostly degenerated, but their hearing had to be razor-sharp. Control the heartbeat. That I could do. Underfoot, the spiral plunged down, 1 arc per level. The steps just 30 centimeters wide. No railing on the outer edge. One wrong step, and it was a bottomless drop. No telling how deep these ruins went. Still less what waited at the bottom for me. But by now, there was no road back. Drip, drop. The clear sound of water beads falling from overhead. Something stirred in me. Down below there had to be an underground river. It was that which made these ruins so damp, that condensed the water beads overhead. And an underground river had a water source feeding it, ran through the earth, and finally emptied into a river, lake, or sea. I suddenly thought of those waves I'd heard crossing the Gobi. A picture formed in my head. Follow the underground river's current, and I'd surely find the ruins' exit. Find the exit, and I had nothing to fear. About 20 minutes. Click. My foot touched solid ground, the bottom. Before me was a cavern-like space, grim walls on all sides. By the star-burning stone carving's light, I saw points of faint green glow on the ground. Fluorite, or a rare vein, faintly luminous of itself, usable for lamps and for building, the surest means to drive off beasts of darkness. Fine ore, but it was embedded below the surface, hard to mine. Just as I pondered how to mine it, all around, strings of crimson light flared up with a whoosh, like red lanterns in the dark night, lurid. By the fluorescence, I saw clearly. Hulking beasts 2 meters tall, walking upright, covered head to toe in black fur, and that slender crimson wasn't a reflection. It was their pupils, red to begin with. It was the crunch of my footfall that had roused them. A dozen some, all turning their heads in unison, fixing their stare dead on me. Squeak, squeak. The mole in my arms gave a low, urgent sound, trembling all over. It had caught an extremely strong scent of treasure, yet was shaken to shivering by this peril. I stroked its trembling little body and faced this pack of monsters head-on. Cave dweller, humanoid, extremely tenacious of life, feeds on fluorite, highly aggressive, eyesight extremely poor, hearing extremely sharp, speed extremely fast. A pack of blind men. The bit of unease in my heart eased a few degrees. But this time I couldn't run the way I had from the boar pack. Walls too high to see the top on all sides. The lone underground river, the exit blocked by them. A dozen some, and Villager 2's near-scrapped rusty axe in a head-on fight would cost him dearly. He had great strength and high defense, but not enough speed. I looked at the mole in my arms. Its nose still snuffing, body trembling, but steadier than before. We strike first. Since they were blind men, I had to use my greatest advantage, eyesight. A plan took shape in my mind, and the key to that plan was exactly this drab little gray thing. I set the mole on the ground. It twitched its stubby tail, snuffed with its pink nose, and quickly settled on a route. Yet without my command it didn't dare move. Good, my lord. Villager 2 gripped his axe, ready to fight. Shoo. I handed him a dozen some stones, and one look between us, and he understood. The cave dwellers were blind, so used the stone's noise to draw their attention away and buy me time. A head-on fight I wasn't sure of winning, and Villager 2 might not hold. But with the way blocked, I needed the mole to lead me to a chest hidden here, or to rare material, to forge a new weapon worth using. Failing that, I'd think of something else. In all things, caution first. Villager 2 flung up a hand, a stone shooting out, clack-clack, a string of crisp sounds. Ha-ha. Ha-ha. The dozen-some cave dwellers wheeled around in unison and lunged at the sound. Dozens of meters, crossed in seconds. Even I clicked my tongue watching. Too fast. On speed alone they crushed Villager 2 and crushed me. One clawed down, and the stone was crushed to powder on the spot. That brute strength was a few degrees fiercer than even Shield Soldier Villager 2. Lucky there'd been no clash just now, or Villager 2 would have been torn apart in a blink. The mole was extremely obedient, lying soundless on the ground, slipping along in short, quick steps through the dark, and I followed close. Soon it led me to the edge of an underground river, thick with water weeds, the soil soft and wet, one step sinking me half in. Squeak. The mole stopped on the wet earth by the river and gave a soft call. Over on Villager 2's end, a stone flew out again, timed dead on. In my head, I swiftly built a three-dimensional model of this underground palace. The spiral staircase against the right wall, dropping near vertical. The underground river's current ran toward the direction the cave dwellers guarded. That is, the direction of the exit. I took out the compass and checked. The current flowed north. One piece of intel after another fit my guesses exactly. Follow the underground river and I'd reach the exit. But that direction was the deadly ground the cave dwellers guarded, and at my current strength, I simply couldn't break through. And all of it pushed that most terrible guess a big step toward confirmed. This region was a lone island. Once the fog cleared, the slaughter over resources on the island would only be bloodier than now. But right then, I couldn't spare it a thought. I walked to the wet earth where the mole stood, took up the stone axe, and started digging. The sound wasn't loud, but, in the dark, I clearly saw the pack of cave dwellers' huge ears prick up all at once. Those great sound-gathering ear flaps of theirs had caught this faint digging clear. The next second, they actually dropped Villager 2's stones in unison, and in lockstep, came walking my way. Peril by the second. The moment a fight broke out before I dug up the chest, the outcome went without saying. Folks, the countdown had begun. On my end, I dug shovelful by shovelful. On theirs, a dozen-some red-eyed monsters closed step by step. Dig up the treasure first, or get cornered first. It all came down to whether these few shovelfuls were fast enough. The cave dwellers pressed nearer step by step, the stone axe in my hand never stopping. Didn't dare stop, and I'd be forced into open battle. The more a moment like this, the steadier I had to be. The stone axe swung with more rhythm. 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches. Even if I had to dig 3 feet down today, I'd dig this chest out. I'd never once doubted the intel the mole passed me. But that pack of blind men couldn't be fooled by stones forever. Villager 2, seeing them no longer take the bait, got anxious and slammed his last 3 stones precisely into the face of the foremost one. Ha ha! The eerie laugh rang out, and the cave dwellers wheeled toward Villager 2 in unison. He showed himself, raised his axe to meet them. He meant to physically hold this pack of monsters back before I dug up anything. Bang! Bang bang! The cracks on the stone shield spread thicker. 1 against 10, Villager 2 held on with extreme strain. But an alloy shield soldier was no empty boast. Sharp claws scored line after line of bloody gashes, and he gritted his teeth and swung his axe, crack, severing the bone of one cave dweller. At the very same moment, my axe struck something hard. A fine bronze treasure chest is found. Open it. Open. Obtained. Iron ingot times 50. Basic arrow tower blueprint. Rare dark long sword times 1. Iron ingots, 50. The very material I lacked most. The formula leapt into my head at once. Alloy shield soldier tier 2. Iron ingot 20 stone 5 arm strength 1,600 kilograms. Left arm evolves into an iron shield. The arrow tower blueprint. I could build defensive arrow towers around my territory, area damage, effective on man and beast alike. From now on, anyone who dares invade, the arrow tower answers. The dark longsword. The instant I got it, my scroll lit up, an extra column appearing. Weapon codex. Weapons came in 5 grades. Common, fine, rare, heirloom, legend. This sword was fine grade, extra damage to creatures of darkness. And this pack of cave dwellers before me, weren't they exactly creatures of darkness? I felt no greed. A good sword had to go to the most fitting hand. The crafting bench opened, 20 iron ingots and 5 stone flung in. Villager 2, without a word, withdrew his shield and stepped onto the bench. Light blazed, the stone shield on his left arm plated over with a metallic sheen, the iron ingots fusing into it, his wounds all vanishing, his frame robust, and his fighting spirit soaring. Alloy shield soldier, tier 2. Catch. I tossed the dark longsword over. He raised a hand to catch the sword, a sharp light bursting from his eyes. Kill. Metal shield in the left hand, dark sword in the right. Villager 2 was now like an Azura, slaying any god that blocked his way. Green slime sprayed from the cave dwellers' bodies, near 1 life per stroke. Arm strength of 1,600 kilograms, and the sharp claws hammering the metal shield left only an ear-splitting crack. From sneaking around digging up a chest at the start, to cutting down all comers now, the whole thing took under 5 minutes. Folks, I just want to shout one word: so satisfying. A comeback against the wind is so much more gratifying than smooth sailing. With a fistful of iron ingots and an arrow tower blueprint in hand. Even if my worst guess came true, so what? Anyone who dares enter my territory, the arrow tower will see to them. And by now, every clue pointed to the same answer. The mirror image map, the sound of waves, the 100,000 square meters. That 100,000 was my territory alone. But there were 1,000 lords in the region, so the whole island's area had to be that, times 1,000. I'd walked 4 kilometers to the ruins, yet the region's exploration hadn't budged, meaning I'd long since walked into someone else's ground. While the fog held, they couldn't find me. Once it cleared, the region would be like a national border, step across, and it's war. Now I understood completely why it was called the All-People Lord Competition. 1 lone island, 1,000 lords slaughtering, allying, and scheming over resources, until only 1 king remained to rule the whole island. And the world channel held the lords of the whole globe. Greater plunder, fiercer war, all still to come. What a vast game of chess. The fight wound down, a one-sided rout. Green blood and severed limbs littered the ground, the slime on the dark sword sizzling away clean. Cave Dweller slain ×1, decomposable. Villager 2 came before me and respectfully presented the dark longsword with both hands. Mission accomplished, by your grace. My lord, your sword. I took it, looked it over, and handed it back. This sword is yours from now on. Don't dishonor it. Villager loyalty was maxed, but they had minds, had feelings. To be a proper lord, leaning on that maxed loyalty alone to press them would only backfire. I had to make my men respect me from the heart. Thunk. Villager 2 dropped straight to his knees, cradling the sword, his voice choked. Thank you for the gift, my lord. Your servant will give his very brains and blood. 10,000 deaths, no refusal. On what does a man in power stand to hold power? On force. A sword in my hand is a sword. In another's, only a murder weapon, yet I'd given it to him. That trust, he understood it in his own heart. Rise. From now on, I'll call you Long. Long, the dragon, the soul of China. E1, the beginning of numbers. Even trapped in this fog, I hadn't forgotten who I was. Long he heeds your command. Thank you, my lord, for the name. He kowtowed hard, a man of iron, knocking his brow against the ground until it bled. Decomposed Cave Dweller. Each yielded a dark core fluorite. 11 of them, for 7 dark cores and 12 fluorite. The moment I got a dark core, the golden formulas welled up. Dark core ×100 origin divine stone monster core mana wellspring holy sword, heirloom grade. Dark core fluorite alloy metal block dark core fluorite gem, set into weapons and armor, adds heavy defense. An heirloom grade holy sword. Far off, yet not impossible to make. That one line alone was enough to set my heart soaring. The cave dwellers cleared. A deep passage was revealed. I walked in, the star-burning stone carving shining. The walls on all sides were carved full of divine idols. Stately and sacred each one, carved openwork, and a closer look showed them to be separate pieces, removable from the stone wall. I reached out to try, warning. Insufficient faith points. The idol cannot be touched. A sharp sting in my fingertips, and I snatched my hand back. My lord, the idols are of great use. Long he suddenly spoke, his thinking frighteningly clear. For instance, this war god idol, under incense and offering, can greatly raise the combat power of your warriors. This is the power of faith. The idols can also drive off darkness, disperse fog, even slay the strangeness in the fog. I was taken aback. He was an evolved villager. How could he answer so fluently? Your servant doesn't know either. This knowledge is as if carved into my mind. The moment you have a question, your servant naturally has the answer. Long he was baffled too. Yet about the idols, it was knowledge born into him. My heart shook violently. A level 3 territory could build a temple to collect faith points. So once I upgraded to level 3, wouldn't I have my own idols? Take it 10,000 steps back. There were 18 ready-made in this passage. If I just hauled off a couple, wouldn't I be set? Pity. With no faith points, I could only look, not touch. Out of sight, out of mind. I lowered my head and walked on. I noted the place anyway. Once I'd upgraded to level 3, I'd be sure to come back and haul off every idol. 99 meters, 18 idols. The instant I left the passage behind me vanished. In its place remained only a slow-flowing underground river. Ahead lay pitch-black dead silence. Yet the mole in my arms went tense with squeak, squeak. Every time it tensed, something was up. I went on guard at once. Click, click, click. 3 sounds, and all around dull yellow light abruptly flared up, yet I could find no light source. This was a 5x5 sealed chamber. No underground river, no cave dwellers. Only 3 stone doors, each with a mechanism on it. A multiple-choice question. Pick a door, press its mechanism, and the door opens. But which was the right one? I didn't know. Maybe the door led to a dead end, and given that the bluestone slab on the spiral staircase could seal flush, once through this door there was most likely no turning back. Trapped to death inside. I never do multiple choice, still less blind guesses. A blind guess is a gamble, and a wrong gamble is death. I set the mole on the ground. It didn't rush any door, but instead darted to the dead center of the chamber. Squeak, squeak. I walked over. There was nothing here, all of it 50-centimeter square bluestone slabs. But I saw the oddity at once. The top left corner was missing a slab. Every stone seam was clean, not a blade of grass. Yet the very slab the mole stood on had its seams grown full of weeds. Pry it open. Long he struck down with his axe. Bang! And the stone axe shattered on the spot, the slab unharmed. And that stone axe of mine had barely been used. Switched to the iron axe. Its edge chipped too. Not even metal could shake this bluestone slab. Long Yi's 1,600-kilo hands hooked 10 fingers into the seam and heaved, not a budge. The mole squeaked itself frantic. I sat on the slab, staring at that missing corner, at the fine seams filling the chamber, and a bold thought detonated. Folks, remember the 30-some sheets of runes I rubbed off that ruins bluestone slab before I came in? Right now, they saved my life. The fine patterns on the slabs were too shallow, the light too dim, hard to make out by eye. I took out a bottle of clean water, bit my finger and dripped blood in, dyed it red, and poured it over the slabs. The blood water ran along the carved lines, and the patterns showed. Thump, 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 my heart raced. I scrabbled madly through the rubbings, and in a dozen-some seconds, identical. The images matched, but the positions were wrong. This slab should be in the top right corner, but now it was in the bottom left. I understood. This was a jigsaw. The 3 stone doors were all decoys, all dead doors. The true exit was hidden underfoot. Push the slabs back into the arrangement on the rubbings, leaving one empty slot in the middle, exactly the spot where I'd set the stone cube die. What this chamber tested wasn't which door to pick at all. It was whether a person, in an unfamiliar and tense environment, could keep from being swayed by externals. Those 3 doors were bait to push you into a blunder. Anyone else in here, the first instinct would be to pick a door, push it, then plunge into the abyss. But me, I'd rubbed off the runes. Long Yi, without a word, cut his finger and dyed water too and handed it to me. I matched it slab by slab, marked the sequence, and like working a 9-grid puzzle, pushed the slabs into place one by one. 10 minutes, the puzzle done. The whole expanse of slabs blazed with golden light, the patterns merging, and a passage to the second trial split open in the middle. The 3 stone doors, all rendered useless props. And off to one side, a silver treasure chest appeared. I yanked it open. Silver secret treasure chest obtained. World announcement. Congratulations to Lord Su-chun on obtaining the first flame core. May you all be spurred on. The whole world blew up on the spot. Holy crap, a flame core. What's that? What are you all hyped about? Whatever it is, Big Shot Su-chin's incredible, and that's that. Su-chin again. From China. No one knew what a flame core was good for. But me, I knew cold. It was the core of upgrading to a level 3 territory, no other. The rest was all basic material anyone could trade for. I'd searched far and wide in worn-out shoes, and it was in hand. Flame core, one of the core origin powers, condensing the boundless force of flame. Thumb-sized, throbbing in my palm, casting my pupils a deep red. The formulas welled up. Flame core origin stone divine forging stone times 5 flame glow holy sword, legend great. Flame core flood dragon sinew divine wood flame dragon slaying crossbow, heirloom great, said to slay dragons. Legend, heirloom. Mouth watering, but origin stone and the like I'd never even heard of, far too early. The pressing thing was to use it to upgrade to a level 3 territory, the most practical. I stowed the core and stepped into the next passage. And at this moment, on the far bank of the river, inside another level 2 territory. Bang! Meng Yu's fist smashed the wooden table, the force of it fiercer than mine even now. A flame core. One step short. Others didn't understand. Meng Yu did. It was the lifeblood of a level 3 territory. It meant Su-chun could build level 3 any moment. How could he not see? The ruins location, he'd told Su-chun with his own mouth, with a hand-drawn map attached besides. The aim, kill for the treasure, lure Su-chun into opening the ruins, doing the dirty work for him, while he crouched beside the ruins, waiting only for Su-chun to show himself to strike. In this world, you don't kill, you get killed. He'd always been so. But he'd crouched, and Su-chun had vanished like vapor, never appearing. He couldn't fathom it. ground his teeth in fury, and roared at his villager to get to the ruins and ask why there's no sign of the man. Folks, the answer was so simple he could have racked his brain to bits and never guessed it. Su-chun had never gone to the ruins he'd marked at all, because the map was a perfect mirror image, and where Su-chun went was the other ruins, at the mirrored spot on his own side. And the matter of the map's mirror image was a secret only Su-chun knew. I'd already gone into the ruins' third level. The underground river reappeared, black fog all around. Only the star-burning stone carvings pinprick of starlight to light the way. I followed the current with light steps, almost soundless. Long he shadowed me. The mole, worn out from the racket, dozed in my pocket. Suddenly, with a snap, a beam of light shot skyward from the ground ahead. In the light, I saw clearly. A tunnel, divided in three, an underground river down the middle, two long strips of land on either side. Exactly like a train station, the underground river the tracks, me standing in the waiting hall, the long black tunnel ahead. And where that beam lit up, chests, one after another, lined up in sequence, one every 10 meters, stretching off to where the eye couldn't follow. Behind each chest stood an idol of differing form. A treasure vault. A giant treasure vault hidden in the ruins. But I didn't dare charge in. There's no free treasure under heaven. Even chests in the wild had monsters crouched beside them. Would ruins chests come free? And the mole in my arms was already itching to move. It had caught the scent of treasure. I walked to the first chest, a bronze chest. Behind it a stone-carved wolf, skeletons scattered around it, grim. I gave Long Yi a look, and he at once gripped the dark longsword, eyes fixed dead on the stone wolf. Open. Obtained alloy metal, or ×5. Exactly the material I lacked to upgrade to level 3. But the instant I collected it, howl! The stone carving cracked apart with a crack, a real wolf lunging out, bloody maw straight for my skull. Long Yi was faster. The dark longsword shot from his hand like a loosed spring, bang, running the wolf clean through, flinging carcass and sword aside together. Wasteland wolf hunted, decompose. Decompose. Wolf meat ×3, damaged wolf hide ×1, wolf fong ×2, wasteland wolf fresh blood ×500 ml. Wasteland wolf fresh blood strengthens the constitution, boundless strength. I tipped my head back and drank it dry. Heat surged through my whole body, cheeks flushing red, muscles firming, strength rushing. Lord Su-chun Explorations 4 Region 30% Level 2 Territory 1 Level 1 Territory 1 Constitution 17 Strength 19 Agility 15 Endurance 17. Attributes rose visibly. I lifted my eyes to that endless corridor of chests, one packed against the next. Folks, this was no ruins at all. This, plainly, was heaven. A chest of 5 alloy ores, a wolf thrown in, and a free vial of a tribute raising blood besides. And chests like this, there were dozens, hundreds more ahead, lined up clear into the dark depths. Opening chests until my hands cramped, that kind of riches had arrived. But the thrill lasted barely 2 seconds before I went calm. I'd run into a deadly problem. The flame core was a world announcement, which meant Mingyu had heard it too. And he was the only one who could guess I was right then inside the ruins. He'd asked me for the level 2 materials list early on, with no materials in hand. What would he want that list for? To play with? So he didn't lack material. He lacked only a flame core. Stringing the threads together, I narrowed my eyes. So that's it. From the very start I'd been certain Mingyu was no good man. Who could resist the lure of ruins? Even I couldn't. Yet knowing full well I held the ruins key, he not only didn't covet it, didn't propose exploring together, but instead invited me to his territory as a guest. This was no making friends. This was a plot to lure me over, kill me with his own hands, and seize the key. A man like this, run into him, and he had to be dealt with, not left to spend the night. The reason I hadn't crossed the river and had picked the mirror side ruins to search was precisely to guard against him. But there was another great matter blowing up outside. 3 hours ago, an announcement had popped up on the World Channel. All survivors take note. The power of the fog is waning. Explore with caution. The channel first went wild with joy. We can finally explore freely. But right after, the whole mood flipped. Wait, what is that? Don't go out. Whatever you do, don't go. The sentence cut off half said, the man gone. I pulled the door open and saw a ghost, face all over blood, ramming the door. The safe house isn't safe anymore. The door's about to be, another half sentence, broken off. The fog. It couldn't have existed to protect us, could it? The moment this line came out, everyone was dumbstruck. Beasts surged madly out of the fog, attacking with absurd strength. Level 1 territories couldn't hold, one after another collapsing. Regional headcounts plummeted madly, 300, 200, 100. In under an hour, the 1,000-person region dropped below 100, and some regions turned outright into dead zones. The fog waned, but the terror within it leveled up. This, plainly, was meant to cut off everyone's road to life. With people about to die out, the big shots on the World Channel finally couldn't sit still. Anyone still in a level 1 territory, run. It can't protect you anymore. Find a nearby level 2 territory, ally. At a time like this, humanity must band together. Come to me, I'll give you food, give you refuge. Whoever sows infighting dies. I'll execute him myself. There's no shame in sending a distress signal. We're all here. Real aid, or a come into my parlor trap, no one knew. But only this way did ordinary people have a sliver of life. And the most spine-chilling thing was, no one knew what the fog even was anymore. They'd thought the fog was the source of danger, that unraveling it meant safety. Now the fog had weakened, the monsters evolved on their own, grew more rampant, and even level 1 territories broke. Then, if the fog were unraveled completely, what waited for everyone? Everyone, instead, drifted further and further from the truth, and no one dared explore anymore. I watched the channel, my brow knotted tight. I took out the clock and checked. The fog's level up landed exactly at midnight. Day 4 midnight. I teased out a pattern. Yesterday at midnight the leaderboard opened. Today at midnight the fog leveled up. Every major event happened at midnight. Then I looked at the endless corridor of chests before me and had a premonition. Follow this passage to its end and I'd be able to leave the ruins. But after I got out, a world full of beasts, no way home to find. That part one didn't fear. I had the compass. And Mingyu. If he too had felt his way to the exit and still hankered after this flame core of mine, what would he do? Rob. That was his one and only thought. I had to grow stronger, or I couldn't even handle what was outside the ruins. I licked my dry lips and fixed on the second chest. Long move. This time I wanted to try cleaving the stone carving directly, but the dark longsword struck it and the carving didn't budge. I could only honestly open the chest and wait for it to revive. Open. The stone carving came alive on the spot. Long Yi's blade fell, hacking the one-eyed lizard that shot out into pieces. In the chest, a body enhancement serum could strengthen one's own attributes. Right on time. The story splits two ways. On the far bank, inside a brightly lit level 2 territory, Mingyu sat high at the head, a ring of 3 men and 2 women below, all lords he'd rescued. Big shot Mingyu, forever our god. Where's that Su-chun? When everyone was in danger, he was nowhere to be seen, just huddled up, waiting to die. The woman speaking was Tianya, the very one in the regional channel forever fawning on Su-chun and Mingyu. Mingyu smiled faintly, but his eyes fell on the stove fire. As long as the fire didn't die, the things outside couldn't get in. Yet his heart was all on that flame core. He turned it over. The World Channel hadn't yet broadcast level 3 territory built, which meant Su-chun had only gotten the core, hadn't built yet. So the core was still in his hands. Bang! Mingyu's palms smashed the wooden table, startling them all. Then, he began to spin it. The root of all this is Su-chun. I was the one who found the ruins back then, and I didn't dare go in, because exploring the ruins weakens the power of the fog. It was that fellow who, with honeyed words, cheated my hand-drawn map out of me and forced me to lead him to the ruins. I told him not to go in, and he knocked me out cold with one punch and robbed me. If not for his willfulness, would this many have died? What flame core? He robbed it from me. He's a thoroughgoing, self-serving devil. All lies. The exploring ruins weakens the fog, then knocked out and robbed of the core. Not a word of it true. He had one aim only, to make Su-chun a public enemy, and through the crowd's blades, be rid of him. Folks, here comes the black comedy. Mingyu on that end spinning lies to kill by proxy, and me on this end likewise plotting to finish him the moment I got out. The difference being, I knew where his territory was, and he had no idea where I was. Whose neck this blade finally fell on remained to be seen. Those few lords believed it all, cursing Su Chun at the empty air. Tianya got even more worked up, embroidering that Su Chun had said unspeakable things to her, demanded she sleep with him for benefits. Pure fabrication. Su Chun didn't even know who she was, had never said a word to her. Heh. A cold laugh came from the corner. A woman in a snow-white wedding dress and won. The day of the transmigration was her very wedding. Everyone collapsed on the spot, and she woke here, her fiancé nowhere to be found. Not that it mattered. It had been a marriage of two families' convenience to begin with, without a shred of feeling. She saw through Tianya's fabricating at a glance, but couldn't be bothered exposing it. To live in this world, you relied on your brain, and Tianya plainly had none. As for Meng Yu's words, she believed half a measure at most. What kind of man Su Chun was, you had to deal with him to know. Better than listening to Meng Yu's one-sided account was to think about how she herself would live. This Meng Yu gave her a two-word read: dangerous. A woman's sixth sense. Anyone who still trusted others unconditionally at a time like this was either a fool or a parasite who could only cling. She was neither. And Nuan exchanged a glance with another lord in the corner, Zhang Quan, and each gave a nod. Everyone had their own abacus. So-called alliances looked solid, but shattered at a touch. Folks, this night, I saw one thing clearly. The fog was full of strangeness, but what was truly hard to guard against was the human heart. Some territories weren't territories at all. They were hells, more terrible than outside the fog. When even staying alive became a problem, flesh was just flesh, nothing to do with dignity, nothing to do with morality. The kind couldn't live. And on my end, in the ruins. A glance at the clock, 3 in the morning. Without realizing, I'd been here 14 hours, explored 3 levels, the hall rich, the most crucial being that flame core. But I'd found a snag too. The more chests I opened, the stronger the stone carving behind each. The first a wasteland wolf, the second a one-eyed lizard, the third a saber-toothed tiger. Long E could still one-shot them, but his stamina was dropping. The next one, could he still hold? Time to take stock of the spoils and resupply. 3 hours to daybreak. Tally the fortune: 5 bronze chests, 1 silver chest. The bronze chests yielded alloy metal or times 130, quartz or times 20, could fire glass, iron ingot times 50, body enhancement serum times 1, cured meat times 5, purple crystal times 10, blue crystal times 10, plus 1 gold ingot. Alloy metal ore was the lifeblood of upgrading to level 3 and converting the chariot. But 130 was a bit short. I needed at least 400. It was the material I lacked most right now. The more the better. The moment I got purple crystal, the formulas welled up. Purple crystal times 5 iron ingot times 3 alloy block times 5 alloy grappling claw, walk on walls. But the line's limited, don't hook crooked. Purple crystal starry sky stone timber alloy block enchanting bench adds powerful attributes to gear. The enchanting bench needed starry sky stone, which I didn't have. I'd had a starlight stone, but synthesized it into the star-burning stone carving. But that alloy grappling claw, my heart stirred. Synthesize. Alloy grappling claw in hand. Purple crystal clinging to all 5 fingers, glowing purple, worn like a glove. All metal, yet not the least bit stiff, fitting every inch of skin. Crook the fingers and 5-inch-long blades sprang out, sharp enough to score metal. Fling it out, and it was a 10-meter steel cable, hooking walls and trees, a leap with the borrowed force. That assassin's trick out of the movies. Sum it up in 2 words: dazzling. This, I suppose, counted as my first weapon. Win the fight and the blades answer. Lose it and hook a wall to run. A must-have for home travel, life-saving, and looting. Blue crystal, mana-related, set aside until I found underground river spring water to convert villager 1 into a crossbow god. Gold ingot, ordinary enough now, but once order was rebuilt, gold would still be hard currency, kept. And the silver chest held just one thing. A recruitment card. That's right, the card for recruiting people in the talent recruitment column. I'd long had a question. With talent recruitment, where did the people come from? Now, card in hand, I decided to try it. I could afford it. Food too plentiful to finish, and the level 2 territory had room. Confirm use of talent recruitment card. Confirm. Fluorescence gathered out of nowhere, tracing out a human form from top to bottom, and a dozen some seconds later. Talent recruited successfully. It was a woman, a head of jet black long hair, dressed extremely sparely, same as the two villagers at the start, the system's aesthetic, presumably. I greet my lord. She knelt on one knee, composed and natural, not the least bit coy. I gave a light cough, a little ill at ease, and turned to look. Long he had his eyes shut, refusing to open them without my order. In his mind, this was the lord's woman. I'd just gotten a wolf hide, so offhand I synthesized a wolfskin coat and handed it to her to drape on. Men and women are different. She was my subordinate, and the respect was owed. Thank you for the gift, my lord. Do you have a name? No. When I was recruited, a voice in my head said I belong to this world, belong to you, that I am your personal possession and must serve to the death without regret. Personal possession? I never treated my people as objects. Now I roughly understood. These talents and the two villagers were most likely summoned from another dimension, living people all the same, only their memories wiped, in order to be loyal to me laid on them. As a hopeless name giver, all I could do was give a code name. From today, you're Feng Yi. Long E, Feng Yi, dragon and phoenix bringing fortune, a lucky omen. Feng E. Feng Yi, thanks my lord for the name. She heard it as E. Fine, better sounding than Feng 1. I didn't correct it. Long E cared nothing for names, but a woman, after all, minds such things a little. And heartless me, I'd forgotten Villager 1. Villager 1 had finished gathering and made it back to the territory before the last kerosene lamp went out. Lucky I'd upgraded to level 2, or his little life would have been forfeit. But the moment he got back, he was struck dumb. Outside, beasts everywhere, the shrieks of humans rising one after another from the fog. He didn't know what had happened, just huddled fast in the house, not daring a single step without my order. Folks, tally the cards in my hand now. A flame core, an alloy grappling claw, a heap of alloy, or, the tier 2 shield soldier Long E, the newly recruited Feng E, the treasure-hunting mole, a fortune dripping with fat. But push open the door, and what waited for me was a world utterly changed. Beasts pouring out, territories falling, the human heart blacker than the fog, and a Mengyu out there slandering me far and wide, scheming to kill me by proxy. He didn't know where I was. I knew exactly where he was. Out of these ruins, the first order of business. Pay him a call.